All righty, good evening, everyone. It is now 6 o'clock. Welcome everyone that has joined us for this regular school board meeting of the agenda for August 25th, 2020. And we'll have the call to order. And we're going to try some modern technology with the flag. Sally has her backup in case anything goes wrong. So we'll go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. If we get the flag on screen, and if Aaron would lead us, please.
Oh, wonderful.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
with liberty and justice for all. Nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That worked out. Appreciate Sally having a backup, and appreciate IT for getting that flag for us too. So,
Okay.
have members of the board had a chance to review the agenda?
Yes, we have.
And is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move that we adopt the agenda for August 25th, 2020.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote on the adoption of the agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have our agenda before us. So we move to the section of the agenda for community comments. And the board welcomes input from the public. Community members may make comments, which are also called testimony, via email or phone as listed on the agenda and on the district's calendar. Tonight's agenda includes a public hearing on the proposed budget for the upcoming school year 2020-2021. All public testimony related to the proposed resolution 20-07 to adopt the budget for the school year 2020-2021 will be heard during the public hearing. The other two community comment periods, which are items 3 and 9 on the agenda, will hear testimony related to the reduced educational program resolution number 20-06 or other items unrelated to the budget. The board may direct the superintendent to follow up on certain items that arise if appropriate. Please be mindful of how you present your testimony, as the board will not allow complaints against an individual staff member or student in open session unless that individual has requested an open public hearing. Now, the public comment procedure allows each person 3 minutes to speak. Depending on how you're accessing the meeting, you may or may not see a timer on screen. Our host will give you a verbal notice when you're down to 1 minute and another at 15 seconds. To improve audio quality for all, please mute your microphones until you're called to speak. Public comment procedure asks you to state your name and address before speaking. And again, this public comment period will be speaking to Resolution 2006, the reduced educational program, or other items unrelated to the approval of the budget. So, host, do we have? I'll let you take over and be
Okay,
in charge of the flow.
so I have some emails here. I will start with the first one. Dear school board, I am writing to you as a concerned community member and parent of a SSD student. I am not hearing great things about our dual language program at Evergreen Elementary School. All 3 of my sons went there, and my oldest son, who is 24, actually attended the program when it had just begun many years ago. For many years, the program flourished and grew with amazing results. Since my youngest son, who is now 16, left Evergreen to attend the middle school, I have heard from other bilingual families that the program has started to fade out. Is this true? I hope not. I was born and raised in Shelton. I have lived here over 40 years. How many of you school board members can say the same? My family was the first Spanish-speaking family to attend the SSD. I can tell you that due to the language barriers and because there was zero attempt to try to help my family adapt to English as a second language. The SSD failed me. At that time, there were no programs to help with the language transition from home to school. I ended up getting frustrated in my first year of high school and dropped out. You keep talking about creating relationships with the students and their families because that is the key to success. Well, how can you do that how can you do that if you are not reaching out to the Spanish-speaking families and finding out what their concerns are and how to create bridges where barriers really are? Luckily, I was able to go back and finish school as an adult and have been able to accomplish a successful career. Not all families and students are as lucky. My middle son, who is 20 years old, will be completing his second bachelor's degree from UW this spring. He will be our family's first college graduate, and I know his success was due to the support he received at the beginning of his educational path at the dual language program at Evergreen Elementary. Our household is still a bilingual household, and it is still difficult for my husband to understand what is going on with our youngest son attending online high school. I can only imagine how hard it is for other families where both parents have the language barrier. What is the board doing to make sure that those parents that don't speak English are able to access the same tools English-speaking families have to help their student attend online classes? What programs or tools are you offering these families to make sure that they have every chance possible to graduate? I ask you to please ask and listen to those families whose second language is English to see how these changes have affected their children's educational progress. Have a conversation with your staff and ask them where they think the needs are for their students. I have also heard that you are voting on making staff cuts. Is there no other way? I am sure that if you ask your SSD staff for ideas on how to make financial cuts without leaving any students' learning needs behind, they would offer some. Please bring their input to the table. I hope that you are not thinking about cutting positions that are so crucial to our kids. For example, bilingual teachers and bilingual paraeducators. If you make those types of cuts, our kids will suffer immensely. The district has come so far from where it was 30 years ago. Please don't move backwards. If you do, we will be having more student dropouts like I did. Our children's education and future are in your hands, and I ask that you please do everything in your power to understand that one vote and one decision can have so many negative implications on so many students and families. The board has a lot of responsibilities, and I hope that this letter can make an impact on your decision before it is too late. I hope you hear me. My parents, who only spoke Spanish many years ago, did not have the privilege that I do to write a letter like this one. I know for a fact that there are still many parents and community members that are in the same position and feel that because they can't read, write, or speak English, that they are not heard. I hope this letter speaks for them. Thank you for taking the time to hear my concerns. Parent and community member, Socorro Villeda.
Thank you very much. Host, on the next email, can you read the name and address first?
Oh, yeah. I don't see an email or an address on this one, but this is Stevie Keith. Okay. I am hearing a lot of concerning things about the finances this year. One, why am I hearing about a pay raise for our superintendent? We are laying of people instead of finding other ways to use them, and you find it acceptable to give pay raises? Two, why have you not posted the finance report for 2018-19 as well as 19-20? By law, you have to. Three, what incentive are you giving these employees to come back when our kids can come back to school? Four, who is this going to affect? How much we get from the federal government next year? Five, what about the kids who will struggle with online schooling? My many concern is kids with special needs. Will you adjust how you do things so you can help them be successful? Six, is there ways we can find ways keep our drivers, teacher aides, and other staff busy so we do not lose them? I feel this needs to be addressed and more before you move forward. Stevie Keith. Okay, next comment is Emily Hearn, address 925 Thomas Ave, Shelton, Washington. Dear Shelton School District Board of Directors, let me start with this. The Q&As you produce is quite possibly the most insulting load of lies and manipulation that I've ever seen. Though I have to give you credit for creating answers which don't actually answer all the questions. Heck, the majority of questions you posted weren't asked in the first place. No wonder you were able to craft such masterful responses. You, in fact, did not give adequate time for parents regarding this decision. 2 weeks before their last paycheck, and their health insurance running out at that time as well. Not to mention, there are some notices which were sent out before even the presentation of the budget was made. Is this legal? You also did not apologize for trying to illegally pass this budget last Wednesday. How can you be qualified to work on a school district board without knowing what you can and can't do during your board meetings? First of all, we don't care that you've used this company before. It's a ridiculous amount of money. Though I see why you put down the cost per student, it does make it look cheaper. Did you know that if you found a program at half the cost, still 1 million, mind you, around 40 paras jobs could be saved? Just a thought, when answering questions about a budget decision that the community is obviously greatly invested in, perhaps you shouldn't copy and paste. Quote, students will continue to receive support through EL, special education, title, LAP, McKinney-Vento, our Native American education program, and our families liaisons, end quote. You use this quite a few times. Each answer needs to actually address the question, by the way. What you gave is not an answer. If you are cutting positions which will fill the roles in these programs, how can you expect to provide the required resources and assistance for these students? In short, you can't, and you're making excuses. And I'm not sure how you think what's been done in the past is a proper response to the revelation that SSD is under investigation by the OSPI for compliance violations regarding our EL students. Isn't the district responsible for providing adequate services and resources for these students? Why do you think it's acceptable to ask the teachers to do what is supposed to be your job? And, quote, we're working on it, unquote, doesn't work when it comes to the hotline. School is less than 2 weeks out and you are failing these students. Perhaps pairs who are bilingual would help. Perhaps a program with Spanish accommodations built in would help. Your program is a joke. Regarding the athletic director, it's still not acceptable. If we aren't getting fall sports, we shouldn't be paying for them. And if you can't guarantee we will have them in the spring, I see no need to fund these positions this year, or cut in half, since they'll only be doing sports for half of this year anyway. The director of academies, I didn't see a single question regarding this. There is no argument that students shouldn't receive vocational training. The only administrative position you discussed were principals. Okay, don't do part-time. What about furlough days? That's what the state of Washington is doing. Seems a reasonable sacrifice. Or how about temporarily halting the cost of living increase? Or going back to pre-McCleary wages until the schools open up again? At least no one would lose their jobs. You know what? I didn't see a pay cut. You did not answer this question at all, and it was repeated many times over. Why can't principals take a pay cut? Take furlough days. Why are we paying our superintendent more than the governor of our state? More than the superintendent of public instruction? Why is he getting a raise this year? Why does he not live in this county and pay the same property taxes that he inflicts upon us? How can he rake in over $200,000 a year, get a raise this year, and tell us that we are the ones that have to make the sacrifices? Why didn't the board boot him out when what he did to the school district in Montana came out? Teachers were having to put together books with duct tape while he gave himself a 13% raise and is just one example. There's even a letter that was sent to Shelton thanking us for taking him off their hands. I'll wrap things up now with a few declarations. 1, this budget is a slap in the face to your valued employees and what it will harm our children, their families, and the economy as a whole. Your actions, responses, and this budget are an insult to our intelligence. 2, the superintendent is corrupt, greedy, and lazy. He has created an environment to protect himself and feed his bank account. The board needs to reject this budget and remove Dr. Alex Apostle from his position and make sure the entire school administrative community knows what he did. I don't want to inflict him on another school district. 3, if this budget is passed, I will be removing my children from SSD and encouraging other parents to do the same. I have already started posting other online learning programs to parents on Shelton Talks. Also, if this budget is passed, I will begin or heavily participate in a petition to recall the entire school board. 4, Shelton School Board, you are public servants, all caps, who are supposed to act in the best interest of the students and their families. You are voted in, you are beholden to us, and you have to stop ignoring our wishes. We will not let this go.
If I may interject a question, since we are reading emails, are we still bound by the 3-minute time mark?
Within reason.
Thank you.
It varies a bit by the speed of the reader, and oftentimes we'll let somebody finish a comment as long as it's not much over the mark. So we'll try and be gracious without it being problematic.
Okay, I will read the next one. This is from Elliot Short Sanchez, Shelton, Washington, the address. Dear Shelton School Board, I thank the school board for your service during these challenging times. The board has the chance to build our public support for our schools and make sure educators and parent voices are heard. I am writing to you to express my concern about the proposed cuts to staff and processes that are not including parents and teachers at Shelton School District. The district's decision to use the K-12 online program doesn't appear to have been an inclusive process, doesn't seem accessible to many families, and cost the district roughly $2.5 million. I'm concerned about curriculum decisions administrators made in an emergency. I'm concerned that the Spanish-speaking families will not be able to access the learning on the K-12 and that pre-packaged curriculum be not relevant. I urge you as school board members representing us to deliberate and seek voices of parents and teachers at this urgent moment. Sincerely, Ellen Short Sanchez, Shelton, Washington. And the next comment is from Jolene Scott. No address. Dear Shelton School Board members, I am writing this evening to share my thoughts and concerns over the proposed staffing layoffs and reductions proposed for the 2021 school year. As you consider this very important task before you, I think it is vital to share a glimpse of what it is like for those of us who are already back to work in the buildings to help inform your decision. My building is currently staffed with 3 secretaries. Today, when we were not conducting outreach to families, we were answering phones. There was hardly a moment when the 3 of us were not on the phone all at the same time with parents and guardians. I cannot impress upon you enough how grateful each and every parent or guardian was for our time and assistance. We helped them navigate a new system, shared information and resources, allayed concerns, and assured them that we would find the information they needed and get it to them. In one call alone, I personally spent over half an hour with the mother new to our district, who will be parenting and acting as her student's learning coach while she lives and works out of town. We know we will be helping this family again, as we will with many others. The same story was being played out at every building across the district. The gratitude of each person I spoke with was nearly heartbreaking. Their needs are many, their numbers are large. What we are quickly discovering is that the work will not be less, it will actually be much the same, just more intensive. From the moment we make or receive a call, answer an email, or respond to a text on the school cell phone, we are providing a service to both the district and our families. We are making connections that will keep students enrolled in our schools. This takes time and staff. Last spring, we worked tirelessly on outreach and attendance every day, making sure students were attending their classes and not falling through the cracks. The more we learn about K-12, the more we believe that our personal help will be needed as much, if not more, than during a traditional school year. These are not self-serving words, but true and observable facts as the year begins to unfold. While the focus of this letter has been on office staff, I believe that our para-educators will be pivotal in providing support and structure to our students. We must swarm our students with assistance in every possible way to keep them engaged and on track. I have heard anecdotal stories about the small groups our paras taught in the spring and the growth these students showed, and how paras teamed with teachers to assist in online live classes to make sure student needs were being met. We have an opportunity to do this well. Successful distance learning truly is going to take a village. I understand the weight of the decision each of you must make. Please consider the monumental task that is before us all. There are many unknowns as to what will be needed in this learning model, what parent needs will be, what student needs will be, and how our roles as office and paraprofessionals may need to expand and change to fill those needs. I am concerned that the staffing layoffs and reductions may be premature, that in making a decision, you must try to imagine the unknowable. I would respectfully request that as we enter this uncharted territory together, you let your decision fall where there will be the least chance for harm. Thank you for your thoughtful considerations of the impact your decision will have on students, families, and staff, and for taking the time to examine it closely. With respect, Jolene Scott, Co-President, Shelton Educational Office Professionals Association. And at this time, I ask, are there any public comments that are to be made over the phone?
I have one, Karen DeWitt.
Okay, so yeah, Karen, you may give your comment.
Karen DeWitt, P.O. Box 444 Union. I would like to thank the district staff for all of their support during my time at the district. I feel I provided leadership and mentored staff from the top down. I felt I needed to speak for myself because of public turmoil over the safety and security position. This is the second time the position has been eliminated. At no time did I say I had retired. Funding was located and I was asked to resume the position. Clearly, I must have been doing a good job to be asked back and stay as a cabinet member. I started out working 260 days a year. After being asked back, it was reduced to 180 days, saving the district $27,466. After several budget meetings starting this April and hearing there was no way the safety and security position would be eliminated, I was advised on May 1st it was being eliminated. I was told.
Well, you're missing a couple, which is interesting.
I felt the school.
Apologies.
I was told the school board felt they needed more police presence in the school, so they were keeping all 3 resource officers, but were eliminating my position. Yes, it is true. I provided some unwelcome ideas about budget cuts, including administrators being cut back. Within a few weeks, I was asked if I would stay on if there was funding. 2 weeks later, I was asked to consider being a consultant with the district. When I retired from the state patrol as a district commander and the highest ranking female, there was a lot of responsibility, and leadership was a must. Providing leadership and mentoring from the top down has always been a top priority for me. I believe in leading by example, literally to the lowest level. Do the right things for the right reasons. I retired with my respect and integrity intact. When I came back to work at the Shelton School District, I quickly learned leadership was in place, but what I called leadership by fear. When administrators are reminded frequently how many employees have been terminated, that is leadership by fear. Administrators working in a fearful environment ruins an organization. It starts to collapse and they do not want to make decisions. That is poor leadership. When good administrators that can be salvaged are asked to resign, there is a problem. Where is leadership and mentoring from the very top? That is poor leadership. When good administrators self-demote, that is poor leadership. When an administrator has issues of not being truthful, and I'm told if he does it one more time, that is poor leadership. Instead of contacting staff members when a concern has been issued, shunning and failing to return phone calls and texts for weeks is not acceptable. That is poor leadership. When district office staff resign or seek therapy due to a toxic work environment, at times hostile, that is poor leadership. I've gotten this off my shoulders and placed it onto yours, the board members. It is up to you to figure out what has and is going on. Investigate. There's always 2 sides to a story. That is part of your responsibility. I will leave the district August 31st and feel good about leaving the safety and security of the district with a good foundation. I will move on and plan to restore my mental and physical well-being. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I apologize for the talking over in the middle. Are there any other phone comments to be made?
Hello?
Yes. Yeah, you may go ahead.
Hi, this is Debbie Simmons, and I live on Dearborn Avenue, and I have one student who graduated from Shelton High School. I have another one who is presently going to be a junior. I'm not super impressed with the budget. I'm not impressed with the amount of salaries, over $100,000 a year. 2 athletic directors, one who's basically just a football coach, and that's it. That was all done very, very shady, and it's not okay. We need to be better stewards of our tax dollars. We need to be better examples for the students in this district. And the way that ivory tower on First Street is being run through fear and intimidation is not good. We've gone through how many administrators in this district because one little slight, one little thing that upsets the apple cart of Alex Apostle, they're gone. Resign, get a good recommendation, or be fired. That's it. That also is not a good example for our students. It does not build a cohesive work environment for our staff. Our teachers, their morale is so low. It is not okay. It is time to do something. And for him to live in another county when he is supposed to be representing this area and living in this area and we're paying $25,000 a year for him to commute, that is not okay. You take that $25,000, you save one para. It's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. And again, I caution people to be mindful of their words as they present their testimony, please.
Okay, are there any? Oh, go ahead.
If there are no other comments, I will take over reading the next few emails. Kim Sloan. Hi, school board members. My name is Kim Sloan. I am a school bus driver and union shop steward. The reason for this email is because I not understand why you as school board members have not looked into the shared work program offered by the Employment Security Office. This program was put into place for the purpose of helping employers keep their valued employees during such times as this pandemic. Your valued employees will still be employed with benefits and ready to work when said time comes. There would be no layoffs. Why would you not take advantage of such a great opportunity? The shared work program is right there for the taking. Why not use it? You as Shelton School Board members were voted into these positions by the people of this community to do what's best for the Shelton School District. To do what's best not only for the students, but for the entirety of the school district, which includes all employees. I can assure you that layoffs is not the answer and is not what's best for the Shelton School District. I implore you to do your job, do the research, use the shared work program. You'll find that when school does resume face-to-face learning, you will have a workforce. Thank you, Kim Sloan. Christy Evans. You are overpaying superintendent. The wage is outrageous for our little town. Shame on the board for paying such exorbitant wages, especially when cutting much needed positions. Why does Shelton need 2 athletic directors, especially at this stage? You, the board, are directly responsible for spending the funds in such an appropriate manner and maintaining high integrity of the funds. The wage for the superintendent is not responsible. Caitlin Davis. How long will the Shelton School District employees be laid off, and is school going to reopen after the first trimester? Is there any time frame for your custodians who were laid off? I have Sally, mstsally@yahoo.com. Although I cannot be present, I was hoping this would be shared at the meeting. Dr. Apostle, Shelton School Board, fellow colleagues, community. I am writing to share my experience from behind the office desk, as well as with the people out in our community. My decision to change career paths from retail management to applying at Shelton School District was so that I could strive for a greater purpose. After raising 6 children, it seemed like another stepping stone to achieve that purpose. Recently, I have had the pleasure of interacting with many individuals, including the children in the neighborhoods of our community. I have spoken to people from every walk of life. We have a beautifully diverse population, and through the difficulties that our economy is facing, I have seen people coming together like never before and helping one another. We are all one, and in the words of one of our SEOP members, we are better and stronger together. Although office professionals don't teach in a traditional classroom, we work with all staff who serve our student and family needs every day for guidance, knowledge, nutrition, mentoring, activities, safety, and support. I can truly say that I have never worked with a more committed and outstanding group of people in my lifetime. I cannot begin to tell you how much our families rely on each and every one of us to be here for their students, to show up, to be committed. We may not be meeting face to face, but we will be behind the scenes working hard to support anyone who needs our help. There is so much to be thankful for in these trying times. Let's not lose sight of exactly what we need to support each other and our community. This is where united we stand, divided we fall. Where do you stand? Renee Miller, Bordeaux Elementary Secretary. Are there any phone-in or comments from members of the meeting?
Okay, if there are no phone-in comments, I will continue reading the emails. So this one is from Erica Marbit. No address. Dear school board members, thank you for the time and effort you take to move the Shelton School District forward towards a better education for Mason County youth. I know this has become more stressful and an extra effort with COVID-19. I am writing to express my concerns about an erosion of the Evergreen Elementary School dual language program before, during, and after the COVID-19 period. I am a parent of 2 children who spoke English since birth and who completed the Evergreen Elementary dual language program. I spent 8 years volunteering at Evergreen as a PTSO parent, 2010-2017, so I knew the program, the teachers, and the staff well. The value of the dual language program goes well beyond academics, both for English speakers and English learners. Please protect and support this program. It is the best foundation for any student moving into the working world of Mason County and beyond. Why? Because children from different cultures who learn to speak each other's language can work together and understand each other. They become the most aware, empathetic, flexible, and tolerant students in the school system. And then as working adults, they can engage meaningfully with people who are different from them, and this is good for our society. Innovative educators and citizens of this county created and built the dual language program to serve a growing population of multilingual, not just Spanish, not just bilingual, workers who immigrated to this area. These workers are hired by local companies. These workers support rural industries in Mason County. Our school district is therefore compelled to support them. The Evergreen Dual Language Program works best when the school is fully bilingual with no monolingual tracks. It works best with teachers and administrators who are trained and experienced in bilingual education. The program does not work well when fragmented into different tracks and when staff and teacher training is neglected. Before COVID-19, I started to hear comments from parents, teachers, and staff that school district administrators were changing the program, that there was high turnover of principals and a lack of training for teachers and staff. I also came to understand that there was a change in busing and the addition of an English-only track. These changes erode the dual language program. Remember that this program, as it was originally envisioned and built, offers a huge educational benefit to English speakers as well. During COVID-19, K-12 has no instruction for Spanish-speaking parents who want to support their students. By using this curriculum, you have set back the multilingual Spanish Kanjabal, MOM, the English English learners of the county in a huge way. The school district is not serving those families. By letting go of support staff, the school district will not be able to do outreach to those families. Answers on the district's Q&A page about supporting English learners are inadequate and void of any tangible plan. And there's a link to the district Q&A page online. After COVID-19, I will visit with you again. The Evergreen Elementary Dual Language Program needed additional support before the pandemic. For a working parent who does not speak English, these are his/her realities. Bullet point. If my child is to be successful, support me in supporting them. I need school staff who speak my language. Next bullet point. My child will engage most meaningfully with an English learner trained teacher who speaks his/her language. Next bullet point. My family is disengaged from English only outreach. Next bullet point. My child's confidence and success are bolstered in an environment where my culture and my language are valued. The Evergreen Elementary Dual Language Program, while never perfect, did accommodate these needs well in 2010-2017. Please bring it back to a purely dual language program. This is also the format that gave my English-speaking children a superior education in Mason County. Sincerely, Erica Marvitt. And the next comment is from Michelle Matson Barrett. I do not see an address here. To all of you who hold the powers to decimate families of your pink slip layoff employees, once again, having reached out with zero communication back. My name is Michelle Matson Barrett, and I'm speaking on behalf of the loyal drivers belonging to Teamsters Union Local number 252. I am a Shelton School District bus driver and union steward. I have supported and insured my household for 4 years as a bus driver for you. It took me 11 plus hours a day, Monday through Friday, to obtain a 7-hour-a-day FTE. Yet I chose to do a job that I loved and was actually pretty darn good at it. Now you are telling me that I am not valued. I have written to Dr. Postle a week ago and have yet to hear back from him. I asked Dr. Postle why my good faith bargaining unit was not invited nor advised of his, quote, meeting with principals and union leaders, end quote, last Tuesday morning, which he fraudulently claimed in the district-wide email he sent out, instructing us to watch the school board meeting last Wednesday. By the way, I spent many hours of Zoom meetings all summer working on the reopening options. I was good enough to give up my personal time for the good of the district, which means absolutely nothing in this situation. Very little respect, not being included in discussions that would impact 37 members and their families. I was informed by Darlene Eichhorn later that we were the only union not represented in Apostle's secret meetings. Questionable and suspicious when the discussions involved proposing to leave 37 full-time union drivers without work and insurance. And by the way, the mandatory insurance through the state starting January 2020 required all employees to put their children on. I then had a phone conversation with Terry Meisenberg, HR, and he informed me that the district is laying off 37 bargaining unit drivers. They would be sent certified layoff slips after the Wednesday morning. He told me that he had told Dr. Postle that he gave out public funds for free when they continued to pay the drivers for April, May, and June. CARES Act funds are what paid our wages, Mr. Meisenberg, and who are you to give out your opinion in a situation when you were not employed by the district at the time? My union representative and stewards have the right to be treated fairly and fairly with respect and dignity, and this is just not the case at the time with human resources. Be honest in your presentation of information to the school board, in all caps. Tell them that you are pink slip happy and do not think that employees actually matter. Tell them that you have diligently tried to help any of us. Because Mr. Meisenberg, we both know that that is not true. You have been far too busy doing whatever to show empathy and compassion to employees that are being dismissed. Perhaps, quote, valued, end quote, will come to mean that the same thing as it does to Dr. Postle as he has addressed transportation in the past. By the way, transportation is the heart of getting those students to school and receiving education. Our union rep, Shandy Carden, Kim Sloan, and I have spent many hours researching other avenues for our employees to have a chance to make it through these layoffs. One, which would be shared work through the Employment Security Office and most recent furloughs, which other districts are doing that at least keep members insured. How many drivers will be able to spend their entire unemployment check on insurance for their families? Darlene Eichhorn told me that there were other options for insurance through the Employment Security Department when I asked her about the possibility for shared work. Yes, there are insurance options which would take most of your unemployment benefits to purchase. As a district that is funded by your employee tax dollars, I ask, how can you say pink slip and see you when this is over with any dignity and morality? How can the district plan to give any personal raises when they are not taking care of the personnel that keep the district running? Transportation is the heart of getting those students to the school to receive an education. How is it possible to not help those employees that you will be lucky enough to get back as the pandemic winds down? And where the heck is human resources to help its employees going forward? Layoffs on the 31st does not get you out of helping bargaining unit members that believe, quote, in good faith, end quote, actually means something. Thank you. Michelle Matson Barrett.
Can I ask did we have a time on that email?
A time that was sent Tuesday,
Oh,
the 25th.
sorry, I meant length of time to read. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was not keeping track. I'm sorry.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you. You can proceed.
Okay. The next comment is from Lynette Johnson Perry. No address. School board members, please consider at your meeting tonight that many teachers and staff have picketed today because of the cuts that have been made to support staff of our district. Many are greatly upset. It is these types of jobs that employ the people that have been hit the hardest because of the virus. I lost my job working at OMS as the librarian and didn't get paid during the lockdown. and that is fine. But what I haven't heard is if there are even going to be librarians again in our district. My point is, how can there be a new football field and parking lot at the high school, no salary cuts to the district office, but cuts to the people jobs who actually support both students, teachers, and staff are quickly on the chopping block. Please consider another solution to this problem. There is one for you above. I appreciate that you have read this and will consider what is pointing out. Thank you for your time, Lynette Johnson Perry. Okay. And the next comment from Emily Hearn, 925 Thomas Avenue. Attached is a screenshot from an informational website concerning the allocation of funds of the CARES Act. A commitment to employ was a requirement for eligibility. So your claim that you couldn't use the funds to continue paying your employees is either an incredibly stupid oversight or willful intent to not ignore this. Both are unacceptable. And looks like there's the attached document was a screenshot that showed the requirements, like she said, for the CARES Act eligibility. Okay. And the next comment, let's see here, from Laurelyn Rogers, no address. Shelton School Board, as a taxpayer concerned citizen, here are my questions regarding the budget. 1, what is the total amount of all staff costs of living raises and state step increases? 2, have our district employees been approached to forego their pay increases to help mitigate the impact of increased costs and potential layoffs? Please consider all prudent and cost-effective measures, including needed cuts. Laurelyn Rogers. And at this time, are there any phone call-in comments?
Hearing none. Todd and Holly Faig, can somebody please explain how support staff and others are being laid off, but yet our taxes remain the same? Seems like the worthless athletic director with a 6-figure salary should be included in the furlough laid off. Kind regards, Tom C. Faig.
Thank you.
I have an email that got skipped over earlier. Stevie Wright. I'm hearing a lot of concerning things about the finances this year. Why am I hearing about a pay raise for our superintendent? We are laying off people instead of finding other ways to use them, and you find it acceptable to give pay raises. Why have you not posted the finance report for 2018-19 as well as 2019-20? By law, you have to. What incentive are you giving these employees to come back when your kids can come back to school? Who is this going to affect how much we get from the federal government next year? What about the kids who will struggle with online schooling? My main concern is in kids with special needs. Will you adjust how you do things so that you can help them be successful? Is there ways we can find ways to keep our drivers, teacher aides, and other staff busy so that we do not lose them? I feel this needs to be addressed and more before you move forward. Stevie Keith. Samantha Richardson. How can the board justify laying off so many staff, but at the same time give the superintendent a raise? He is already making more than the governor of Washington State. No reason why his pay can't be cut as well. Many state employees' pay has been cut since COVID started. If you are laying off staff, there is no reason why admin staff also can't take their fair share of the cuts, either by furloughs or layoffs as well. We need our paras more than ever. Mike Pelly. Educators are more essential than ever. Don't cut back staff at such a critical time like this. Mike Pelly. Linda Guhoisma, and I apologize if I massacred your last name. To whom it may concern, please support and retain Sultan School District essential para-educators and staff, bus drivers, custodians, secretaries, mechanics, and service workers. Their role in the schools, in the community, and all the work they provide for our children should not go unnoticed. As an SHS 2010 alumni and lifelong resident of Shelton, I stand in solidarity with their demands. I ask that their positions remain in the 4.7 surplus budget. I ask that the money be used to pay for their positions and support them during this pandemic. It is our responsibility to care for one another in this community and during these challenging times. I am a first generation Latinx college graduate that benefited from the services of paraeducators during my K-12 education in Shelton. Without them, I would not have felt supported in the same way while earning my education. Please be accountable to our essential workers in the Shelton School District. Sincerely, Linda Gurja. Candidate UW Executive MPH, BNA, Math, American Ethics Studies, University of Washington. Kane Hernandez. Hello, I am a former student at SHS and I understand that we are going through some tough times right now, but this email is in regards to leaving staff unemployed. You might think that there were jobs that isn't needed right now, but it is. They might not be teachers, but they make and made an impact in my life. Just going into their office and setting up an appointment with my counselor or walking by them and saying hi or have a good day changed their day and my day as well. I know this might not be very important to you, but it sure is to me. They tough me things I wouldn't never known, but thanks to them, I know now. I'm going into college to become a high school math teacher, and it just breaks my heart to see what you're doing in my community. I am now asking you to raise their salary, but I am now asking you to raise their salary, but what I'm asking is to let them work. Kane Pinheiro Hernandez. Mike Fisher. Shelton High School has a 75% graduation rate, is number 308 of 414 high schools in Washington, and there is a link to some school information. And we've dropped 50 rank places in the last 10 years. How is cutting spending going to help our children? Will cutting programs and eliminating staff members help our children progress into higher education? As a recently retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel, I was shocked to see how poorly the schools in Shelton compared to the rest of the state and the nation. Michael Fisher, Lieutenant Colonel, retired USA. Maryland. Dear Shelton School District Board members, first of all, I want to take a moment to say thank you for taking the time to hear all of our concerns and review each of them. There are many pieces of this budget proposal that we as a community have questions about and feel that as taxpayers, voters, community members, and parents, we deserve answers. Here are some of the pieces that don't quite make sense in regards to budget cuts, shortfalls, and concerns. Part of the district's budget plan was to reduce the budget is to not renew contracts for any non-continuing para and paratech positions, even if their position was one-on-one with the student to fulfill IEP requirements. And the district will not be filling any teacher, para, or paratech positions that were open due to retirements or resignations. In addition to losing those positions, the staff cuts include RIF of 44 para-educators, not temporary layoffs like other staff, that will be needed when schools reopen, but RIF, as in permanent. After the loss of non-continuing paras and the unfilled open positions, there are only 93 paras left in the district. Then subtract the 44, and it leaves only 49 paras to share between the district's special education preschool, a bilingual preschool, 3 elementary schools, a middle school, a junior high, a traditional high school, and an alternative school. How will this work for all of our children and their special needs, IEPs, 504 plans, etc.? We are cutting the positions that are closest to our children if this budget is approved. Shouldn't this be an all hands on deck approach / situation to make this online learning program work for our children, their families, our teachers, our paras, and our community? We need to keep our children in school and build these connections with families. We need staff to be readily available to immediately or shortly follow up with families and students to get them the help they need. We cannot abandon them. And we didn't do this without properly trained, or we cannot do this without properly trained staff. Our children matter and they deserve the best. I feel like you all must know this and truly believe it. Why not look at every available avenue possible to save positions, especially our paras? All caps. Our children should not be left behind, end caps. After all, graduation matters, right? Isn't that our district motto? We are cutting exceptionally important positions that are closest to our children if this budget is approved. We owe it to them to be better, to do better. Now here comes more questions and the additional piece to this whole budget that doesn't quite add up. The district is keeping two full-time directors for athletics and activities, who both, from what I've heard, make roughly $100,000 in salary each. On staff with no cuts in hours, no scheduled furlough days, no reduction in salary, even though there will not be any sports or sporting events until at least winter. As a district, it does not make sense to leave two full-time directors, one for athletics and one for activities, through this. Most 3A and 4A schools have an athletic director who is also a teacher or an administrator. What about these two positions? Was this K-8 AD a position that SSD ever had previously? How can we justify not laying off at minimum our K-8 activities athletic director when cutting the athletics budget? Considering there are no sports that will be running, how are either of these AD positions any different than a bus driver who does not have any route with children to transport? Yet we are cutting roughly 37 total bus driver positions. As far as this overview, quick spreadsheet proposal goes, 3 director positions were mentioned of cutting on the spreadsheet proposal from the district, but these positions were dissolved last year when 3 new positions were created. So was anything actually cut from the district administration budget? Why haven't we taken the opportunity to provide meals via bus routes around the district to families that aren't able to make it into pickup locations? I know other local districts did that. We could have easily sent out bus drivers on routes 1 to 2 times per week, delivering meals to specific locations along routes so that students and families could have utilized those drop locations. Wouldn't that have helped make the food program more successful and in turn saved a lot of the federal funding for that program by increased participation? Now for some questions I have about the details. Yes.
Host, I'm sorry. By my watch, I've got approaching almost 4 minutes. Is the email winding up?
I am approximately halfway through it.
All righty. I would respectfully request that we'll stop with that email and give Marilyn an answer. I have also, you know, in the interest of fairness to everyone, we need to keep the time relatively consistent. So is there more comment to be heard? Is there anyone else with email or phone?
We have about 13 more emails to go.
All righty.
For those who are listening, please be aware that all of these emails are forwarded en masse to school board and other members of the administration. So even though we are cutting off this email reading at this point, the entire email will be entered into the record.
Okay. If we do have long emails like the one that we just had, perhaps we should have a bit of a timer running so that we can stop that when it hits its time. Is that an inconvenience is that possible for the host to do?
I am able to start a timer. Would you like it to be 3 minutes or anything different?
3 minutes is fine.
Okay. All right.
You can give the reader 15 minutes or 15-second notice
Sure.
on the countdown. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I will go to read the next email. This is from Alexandra Bruner Gonzalez. It's like 11200 Southwest 8th Street, SASC 230, Miami, Florida 33199. To whom it may concern, as a source of stability for many of your students, especially in these trying times, the Shelton School District should be proud of the legacy they have developed over the years. Continuing the work you have built is more important now than ever. As part of continuing that work is recognizing the strength of the team that you have. As a member of a university support team, I can attest to the importance of every member of our staff. And as we have fought to keep the teams we have, I encourage you also to fight to keep the members of your community united in their mission to keep your school district strong and a source of stability for your students. Kindest regards, Alexandra Bruner Gonzalez. And Curtis Carnahan. Dear Shelton School Board members and superintendent, you tried to pull the wool over the eyes of the community on 8/19/2020 with an illegal motion. You have used wordplay and manipulation in an attempt to show equity with your elitist budget. We as a community are done listening to your lies and manipulations. Your proposed cuts compromise the health, safety, and security of Shelton students. Your use of the CARE funds shows you actually don't care about staff or students. You cut the legs out of the staff members that actually work with students while retaining all of the overpaid administrative positions. Our words seem to fall on deaf and uncaring ears. You keep filling your pockets while the people suffer. There is a petition to recall the school board, and it is high time that Mr. Missoula is sent packing so we can get a real leader, community member, and taxpayer. And next comment is from Matt Mazzari. Okay. It is a little bit longer, so I will start time. To whom it may concern, my name is Matt. Although I work in Lacey, I have been living in Shelton for the past year. I am an educator and I work in the North Thurston School District. When I heard about the Shelton School Board's decision to cut paraeducators and support staff, I immediately felt concerned for the well-being of the Shelton community. I think that this decision would be a mistake, and I'm writing this email to ask the school board and the superintendent to please reconsider. I understand that these are particularly unusual times and difficult decisions need to be made. However, as an educator myself, I can say with complete confidence that cutting the district staff at this time will have disastrous effects for students and families. Right now, the amount of work involved in planning lessons and accommodating for pandemic conditions is tremendous, and educators need all hands on deck. At my school, we are already inundated with new logistic issues alone, and I cannot imagine what we would do if we had a smaller team than we did at the start of last year. There are simply too many tasks to take care of and too much communication to manage. If the school board went through with this plan, they would start to see negative consequences for staff and students alike right away. And once the term is fully underway, there will be practically no way to undo the damage. Now is the time to stand by the people who make your schools what they are. These staff members have been there for Shelton families, and being here for them now is simply the right thing to do. Shelton will be a healthier, safer, and better place if the support staff is kept for the start of this school year. And I am sure that this is what the school board wants. Thank you for reading. Sincerely, Matt Mazzari. The next comment is from 11 Rico. And it says, Dr. Postle and Shelton School Board. On behalf of the WEA ESP members of the Shelton School District, I write to you expressing my sincere disappointment in your decision to choose to lay off employees unnecessarily during the middle of an unprecedented pandemic and continued economic recession. Additionally, I find it disconcerting that with an increase of 10.3% in your 2020-21 operating budget, not to mention the additional $975,000 in ESSER/CARES funding, which is available to save jobs, with a clear conscience, you can defend the position of the community, our members, and all stakeholders of Shelton that you are in a dire financial position which require layoffs. Consider the following. It's basic economics. For every dollar of government spending on education, the local community will see that same dollar spent 2 times. The federal government include support for K-12 in most fiscal bailouts as a way to stimulate economies and to distribute federal funds in every corner of our nation. This is a purposeful/strategic policy choice to focus on K-12. But for the intent of this policy to work, districts have to spend these funds for student services. It cannot go into the district's ending fund balance. Saving that money creates economic harm to the recovery of our local community and local taxpayers. Dr. Apostle and Shelton School Board, the WEA believes and will continue to believe and fight for the idea that the goal of delivering a quality public education to every student has not changed. A quality education for our students will require more people to transport basic education supplies, services, and food to their new place of public education, home, not less. Nothing has changed in public schools but the location. We will still need our entire and complete community of school workers to make sure our students receive a quality public education. We ask that you do not cut positions, shortcut our students, and bring severe long-term financial detriment to our community. We know the district is budgeting for a $4.7 million surplus. How is it possible for you to lay off essential workers with a budget surplus of $4.7 million? Not to mention an additional $975,000 in ESSER/CARES funding, and an increase of 10.3% of funds in your 2020-2021 operating budget. We have asked these questions and posed these positions time and time again, yet you all choose to remain silent. We ask that you reconsider your actions and instead choose to support rather than sell out your own workforce, students, and community. And then there's an image pasted that says letters from the editor. Thanks for taking Apostle. Editor of the Journal, I just wanted to say send my sympathy to the Shelton School District on the hiring of Mr. Apostle as school superintendent. You want a man who creates a structure that divides the administrative work.
Thank you. I think we can do without those attachments. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next email is from Maria Diaz, and it says, please be advised that the new and improved Distance Learning 2.0 does not work without education support professionals. This is always a great concern, even more in these times of COVID-19. Everyone is concerned with the students of our schools, yet those who have the students' lives in their hands seem to not care about them. It is a situation where the students will need even more support with their education, and educators are the only ones that can do this job. By limiting the ranks of the educators, which include the paraprofessionals, students will be limited to an education and some will not even get educated. Please invest in Shelton School District students with the whole educational team and their education. Do not cheat them out of their right to their education. Thank you for your time, Maria Diaz. Okay, and at this time, are there any phone call comments?
Next email, Katie Gunter, to whom it may concern. As a resident of Mason County and as someone who cares deeply about our community's children's education, it concerns me deeply that the school board is considering so many cuts and layoffs. In these unprecedented times, we should be voting or valuing our staff and supporting them so they can support our children through this strange school year. I am also very disappointed that our district superintendent is set to get a raise for this next year. Although not a large one, how in good conscience can the school board consider giving Dr. Apostle a raise during a pandemic, especially when they are wanting to cut so many positions? Is this really an appropriate time? I urge the school board to think this budget through and do right by the children in this community. Sincerely, Katie Gunter. Thomas Stevens. My name is Aaron. I've grown up in Shelton. I have lived here my entire life. I attended SHS and now work in our community as a plumbing technician every day. My mother and my father-in-law are two of the employees that you plan on laying off. Jessica Thomas is a custodian for the Shelton School District, and she will not be able to afford her rent after she is unnecessarily let go. Her and my sister and my niece will have to find somewhere else to live. My mother-in-law, Heather Kowalski, is a para for SHS and has 3 children still living at home. Both of them have kids at home. Both of them are single mothers. Both of them need their jobs. Why is it that you do not care about the livelihoods of your district employees? What you are doing is wrong. There is no need to lay these people off with a financial surplus that is in your hands. Don't cut positions and shortchange our students. The district is budgeting for a $4.3 million surplus. Why lay off essential workers with an extra $4.7 million in the bank? You are all in positions of leadership for our community, being members of the board. Taking these jobs away with $4.7 million in the bank shows every member of the Shelton community what horrible leaders you all are, and you should be disappointed in yourselves for trying to make such a decision. Make the right choice. We are all watching. Sincerely, a former student, a concerned son, a taxpayer. Wendy Burlett. Dear school board, I am writing you as a parent, a concerned citizen in this town, even though I am also a teacher. I have been teaching languages since 2001. I have taught English to adults and young children. I have taught Spanish too. This is my 10th year in Shelton, and the reason I moved to this community with my family of educators was because of the dual language program in Evergreen. I am a product of bilingual education in Mexico. I understand the value and the challenge of learning a new language, and I appreciate and I am thankful of the benefits that it has provided. I am fortunate enough to be teaching students here in Shelton learning a second or third language. My students have had interrupted education or little education in the small rural communities they came from. Most of them have agricultural background, which is where they gained most of their experience and knowledge. These students are eager to work and learn. However, as a district, we are experiencing problems with appropriate curriculum for their needs and class placement that will support them in getting the required high school credits. The interruption of the dual language offered in elementary and non-existent in high school creates a challenge not only for my students who need it as a survival mechanism and a way to gain a required credit while taking advantage of their previous knowledge, but it also creates challenges for students who cannot continue learning in the language that would give them opportunities to bond with their families who are busy working to cover their needs. As a parent and teacher, I would like to see us working in partnership with the district as decisions are made regarding curriculum, especially when some of us have specialized in this field for several years in more than one state. I am also the mother of a child with special needs. I have taught several students with special needs, language needs here in the district, and the resources / curriculum invested in these programs are not updated or in some cases not even there. My daughter has had some extra dedicated teachers who had to learn from us because they did not have access to other resources. My wonder is, what happens with the parents who are seeking guidance from school? Not everyone is lucky enough to have 2 teachers at home who were also trained by behavioral professionals for several years at autism. I tell my students that I want to empower them and inspire them to invest in themselves now because they will be taking care of me and my family as I grow older. They are the future, and I want this town to flourish. They will be in charge. However, we need to support them, and our teachers need the right tools to support them. Please listen to all the comments and stories. This is a small community. Many of us are invested in it. We would like to be included in decisions, especially when we are the ones who will be implementing the programs and curriculum suggested. We need the hardworking people who work with our students every day, ensuring that they are not left behind. We need appropriate curriculum for all, and we need the best programs that we can offer and have been offering. Why change this? Why change the things that we know work? We trust you and appreciate you listening to us. Sincerely, Wendy Burlett. Are there any other community comments at this time?
Okay, I will continue with the next email. It is from Michael Burlett. My name is Michael Burlett. I live in the Shelton School District, have a daughter at Shelton High School, and many friends in the Hispanic community. One of Shelton School District's main forms of outreach to Spanish-speaking families has been the Family Resource Center run by Ricardo Del Bosque. Ricardo has been the main point of contact for many Spanish-speaking families for over a decade. Our thoughts and prayers are with him in his absence. During these challenging times when information about how school will work, the new curriculum, enrollment procedures, etc., what is the current plan to make sure Spanish-speaking families are fully informed of all requirements, opportunities, and supports available? While the district is making efforts to translate materials, parents will need to know who to call for help with connecting, logging on, technical issues, schedules, and schedule changes, etc. What is the current plan to provide equal access for families to district community forums, online open house events, and school board meetings like this one? Many of this type of meeting with pertinent information have already occurred without any translation or interpretation. In short, Ricardo may not be back for a while. What is the district plan to make sure Spanish-speaking parents have equal access to all pertinent information? We are a strong community, more than capable of helping each other through these difficult times. If a key player is out, we need to plan to take up the slack. Thank you for your time and attention to this issue. Sincerely, Michael Burlett. And the next email is from Jennifer Eisenberg. Respected school board members, I am again appealing to you to reconsider these important matters. First of all, we actually need our paras and these individuals find a document stating that they would have their job this fall. They did not look for employment as a result, and school is about to begin. What kind of integrity do we have if we don't honor these documents? Furthermore, while the K-12 may be a viable program for part of our community, 18% will not be able to access it or understand, as there is a very limited Spanish component. Many of the parents who can access it will not have the time. You don't have to do the coaching component of the program. This may be something that our paras could be invaluable for the district and the community. Again, I respectfully would ask that you can reconsider the K-12 curriculum purchase and dispensing of staff. I, along with other certificates staff, will gladly give up my cost of living increase to put towards rehiring staff and ask others, such as administrators, to do the same. Regards, Jennifer Eisenberg, Evergreen. And the next email is from Shelly Salinas. Dear school board members, I wish to encourage you to not make the cuts and/or layoffs you are planning for budget purposes. The students and families will need all the help and assistance they can get from our school staff. The staff being considered in the re-education need their jobs and medical, especially during this time of COVID. The school district needs these members now and in the future. They/we are trained and established. We are an asset to the school district and the students. Quote, if, end quote, money needs to be budgeted somewhere, I implore you to look at other options and where the real excess expenditures in payroll are at this time. I am a firm believer that, especially in times of need and hard times, the cuts should start at the top. As teachers and staff, we demonstrate to our students through example. We teach by example. We earn trust of our students and coworkers by setting the examples. We don't ask of our students, families, coworkers, things we ourselves are not willing to ask of ourselves. So board members, I ask you this. Why do we need such a high salary for our superintendent position? He is one of the top, if not the top superintendents in our state. That position needs to be the first place money is cut. If he is truly in the job to help our schools and children, I am surprised he hasn't offered to take a temporary cut in pay to help benefit the students, staff, community, and our district. Next, if there are job positions out there that are totally offline, such as athletic director positions, their salary and position needs to be looked at. I don't want to see anyone cut or laid off, but some positions and salaries may need to be revamped for the time being. I also think that maybe a few options should be set forward for pay cuts, positions, etc., and maybe let the staff voice which options, short-term or long-term, they would be willing to deal with and work through to help get through this time of challenges and uncertainties. But I do not feel like there is a need to cut/lay off so many talented and qualified staff that is needed for the success of the online schooling of our students. Please think before you vote. Is this really our only solution? Is there not other places and ways to help with the budget if it is really such a necessity? What will the future hold when staff is gone and possibly not coming back? When and if they do come back, will this decision change their loyalty, flexibility, commitment, and trust to this school district? The decision today can and will have repercussions months from now. Make sure you are making the right decision. Thank you, Shelley Salinas. Okay. And see, the next comment is, from Jenica Linema. Good evening, board and Dr. Apostle. As a proud and grateful ESP, I pray you have listened to the community's concerns with cutting crucial support to students, staff, and families beginning the 2021 school year. The community, nation, and world have experienced a state of collective trauma. Shelton has sought to lead the way in academics and athletics the last few years. Let's pave the way and show others how we wrap support around our students and involve all support in their education while they learn virtually. Being connected and there for all stakeholders is the answer at this time. In solidarity, Jenica Linema. And a comment from Aide Villalobos. This is a moment to reconsider and shift past practices that have contributed to racial inequality and a lack of equitable opportunities for so many of our students. And that's a quote from Chris Ragdale. Good evening, board members, superintendent, apostle, and community members. My name is Aide Villalobos, and I am a teacher at Evergreen Elementary. I began with a quote from the superintendent of public instruction as a reminder that now is an opportunity for you, our leaders, to change the direction of Shelton School District. I am concerned that the proposed cuts to staffing, the adoption of the K-12 online platform, and the lack of transparency with our school community will only exacerbate the educational experiences with opportunities for many of our students and our families, especially our students without internet, our students who qualify for SPED, our students identified as English learners, and our young students who do not have an adult at home to act as their learning coach 5 days a week. Cutting off staff will limit our abilities to meet both the academic and socioeconomic needs of the community. Adopting a K-12 online platform without going through an adoption process has left out input from our most important stakeholders, our students and their families, and the lack of transparency about how decisions have been made has only created mistrust. I ask that you consider that your vision to promote equity in all aspects of the Shelton School District. This will not be possible when our students will need more supports, yet you are cutting these supports. Equity will not be possible when 25% of your families will not be able meaningfully access a curriculum because of language barriers. And finally, you cannot have equity without transparency with your staff and community. Thank you, Aide Villalobos. And at this time, are there any other call-in comments?
Next one from Tammy Bacigalupo, and I apologize if I massacred the last name. Dear Shelton School Board members, my name is Tammy Bacigalupo. Thank you for the pronunciation assistance. Thank you very much. My address is 31 East Blevins Road, South Shelton, Washington. I am curious as to why we do not have the option to post comments on the YouTube page today. Jennifer Eisenberg. Please read former email with same title. I think we already did that, did we not? I know there was another email.
Yes, I do believe we did read that one.
Okay. Lisa Slagle. Dear board members, my previous email was read at the last board meeting. I cannot voice the same concerns enough. The children need and deserve the best support. I have tried to understand and be professional regarding this decision to cut so many staff members whose jobs are to support and help children reach their full potential. When I learned how much Alex Apostle makes, I could not help but become very frustrated. How can he receive over $220,000 plus $23,000 in insurance and mandatory benefits a year, yet not take a pay cut during this difficult time? What exactly is mandatory benefits anyway? Why is the superintendent being paid a para's yearly salary just for transportation, especially right now? I love my job. I love seeing that spark in a child's eye when something that was so difficult becomes understood. The joy that brings cannot be explained in words. It makes the lack of pay we receive worth it. Teachers are more than needed, but in reality, it is emphasis too much and emphasis for teachers alone to reach our children where they are. The strength in, quote, Shelton proud, Shelton now, end quote, is only true with the manpower and heart that you are now denying our youth and families by cutting SD, many paras, and other staff. I am a staff member and parent of a Shelton school district. We all deserve better, students, staff, and parents alike. Again, please find another way. Lisa Slagle. Jessica Osorio. Dear board members, Dr. Apostle is a member of the community. As a teacher in this district, a lifelong member of the Shelton community and an SHS graduate, I want to urge you to reevaluate the current proposed cuts. Paras, secretaries, bus drivers, and custodians are the backbone of our schools. I personally could not do my job as effectively without these individuals. Our students need us more than ever. Although we are not physically in school, school is very much going on. If we want our students and families that struggle with online learning to succeed, we need to keep our support staff. The only chance these students have at being successful this fall is having these amazing, hardworking individuals. Our students with special education plans, students with English as a second language, students with parents working full-time, and our students living in poverty will suffer the most. Support staff can bridge and elevate inequalities. With new curriculum, teachers are going to have more on their already full plates. We want nothing more than for our students to succeed. Cutting support staff interfere with this. We can do better. Jessica Osorio. Justin Lazar. I would like to express concerns related to Shelton School District's English Learner Program. First, per ESSA, which is federal law, the district is required to provide communication with all parents so that they can access information about education programs and opportunities. I am not aware of any attempt by the district to provide access to the community forums for our Spanish-speaking families, which make up about 25% of Shelton School District's families. Second, I have a concern about shifting the funding source of $200,000 from the TPIB funds to fund family liaisons. I want to remind the school board that Shelton School District would be out of compliance if they did this, since TPIB funds can only supplement and not supplement or supplant basic education, family engagement, and communications. In other words, they could only work with parents of English learners and only to support specific needs related to English language acquisition and meaningful access to content instruction. Third, I am concerned about plans to hire a consultant and ranker to support the English learner programs at Shelton School District when similar support is available at no cost by OSPI's Migrant and Bilingual Department. We should be looking for ways to be fiscally responsible to save community jobs while offering equal education opportunities to our students. Thank you, Justin Lazar. The last email, Skylar Abbott Shelton. I would like to point out that the number of staff cuts listed on the spreadsheet shared by Brenda did not represent the actual number of people who are being cut. The spreadsheet listed FTE, full-time employees, positions. Here's the actual number of employees that Brenda and Alex are trying to cut. 74 paraeducators / paratechs, 37 bus drivers, 17 food service personnel, 10 teachers, 9 secretaries, 8 custodians, 3 unrepresented employees, 2 mechanics, 0 admin. Please help me understand why you need 3 assistant principals and 1 principal at a high school without students in the building. not to mention the number of $100,000 plus positions created by yours truly. Admin heavy, making the rich richer and the poor poorer. Such a shame. That is all the email comments at this time.
Thank you very much for reading those for us readers and monitoring all of the testimonies and public comments as they came in. That is, we greatly appreciate your having done that for us, and we appreciate the people that take the time to share their comments. It's always a heartfelt and emotional time around the budget because it is a very sensitive topic. We do we will conclude that section of community comments, and just in summary, there was a lot of talk about the dual language. I hope some of those people are able to listen to the report later on in the agenda about the dual language program. Hope that will answer some questions for some people. At this point in time, we'll move on to the public hearing. We will open the public hearing for the proposed 2020-2021 school district budget, and we will call for any public comment that is specifically towards the proposed resolution number 20-07 for adopting the district budget. Is there any public comment at this time, host? I apologize, I'm experiencing some instability. I'm going to turn off my video for a little while and see if that improves things. Is there any comment, any public comment for this section? I'm not getting any audio. Am I the only one?
I am getting audio, but I didn't hear of any call-in comments.
Okay, no call-in comments, no additional email comments. Okay.
There was another email comment come in, and it is in regards to the Director of Safety and Security position.
This is the public hearing for the resolution number 2007. So any other public comment will have to wait until later in the agenda. Is there anything related to this resolution?
No emails about that resolution.
Okay, alrighty. We'll call for public testimony one more time. Is there any public comment? Anybody that wishes to testify for or against on the budget resolution? Alrighty. Hearing none, we will go ahead and close this public hearing for the proposed 2020-2021 school district budget. At this time, we can move on to reports and recognition. We have a report on the dual language program at Evergreen Elementary, and again, very timely because there is obviously a lot of interest in that program. So we have 3 presenters with us. Who's going to lead?
Sandy, I will take that away. Thank you. Yes, it is very well timed. I'm Amber Turgis, and I am the new principal at Evergreen Elementary. So good evening, board members and Shelton community. Thank you for this opportunity tonight to share some amazing things that are happening at Evergreen Elementary. I have been at Evergreen for a short amount of time, but I have already discovered how passionate my staff are about continuing the dual language program. This program has changed over time, and this is the 2nd year that Evergreen is a neighborhood school, which offers a dual language program and English-only classes at each grade level. This year, the model will look a little different to begin the year with because we're 100% online. But our intention is to serve our students to the best of our ability during a pandemic, and we will make it happen. I have heard many community members express their concern about the dual language program losing momentum or going away. I'm here to let you know that the dual language program is not going away. Dual language continues to be a priority at Evergreen and with the greater community of Shelton. The long-term goal is to have dual language continue through high school. A lot of work has been done to add programs at OMS and OBJ with great success. I am confident that we can achieve this. I can also speak to how beneficial the dual language program is in secondary schools because of my previous experience at OBJ. I was in charge of the standards-based measurement of proficiency, or STAMP testing. I saw many students who had gone through the Evergreen dual language program exit 8th grade with a seal of biliteracy, which means that they can earn high school credits in foreign language before they even set foot in the high school campus. That's truly amazing. Next week, our teachers who teach the Spanish side of the dual language program will be retrained and some trained for the first time using the Maravillas curriculum. And this is a district adopted curriculum that is 100% online. I am, for one, grateful for the district allowing us to adopt the curriculum to meet the needs of our students and families. Because of this, we will be able to engage online with more students. The K-12 platform also allows teachers to record themselves in pre-teaching a lesson, polling small groups for individualized instruction, and reviewing content after a lesson. All of these features allow for integration of Spanish into the K-12 platform. This year, we are continuing our work by developing a dual language task force with our staff. A big focus of ours is developing clear parameters and policies with students entering into the dual language setting. This will help make it clear to new parents enrolling in the school what the dual language program is and if they want to be a part of it. We are also working on this process with Dr. Ann Ranker, who was previously our English learner coach from OSPI's Office of System and School Improvement. One part of this district effort is to systematically reevaluate and install best practices for English learners. We will review and update systems of instruction and support for our English learners and dual language students, which includes professional development for Evergreen. She will help guide us through a 3-year plan to meet our unique needs of our English learners and dual language students. As of today, before I left the building, our count currently for our dual language program is 285 students. So as you can see, we are alive and well. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Were Kelly or Marianne going to present it all?
So we have worked together on this presentation, and Amber did a wonderful job. So thank you. So I just want to support what Amber has shared. We are going to continue to support the dual language program at Evergreen, and we are continued and dedicated in supporting the staff there to continue in that program.
This is Kelly, and I will second that with Marianne. We are fully supportive of the dual language program and EL learners in our district. There is no intention whatsoever to not have those programs continue. And even it is our hope to expand them into the middle school and junior high when we aren't faced with this COVID situation. We only had 5 families, I believe it was 5 families, interested in it for middle school at this time. So we decided to wait until we're out of the COVID situation so that we can gather more families and bring them into the program. So as you can see, we're trying to expand it as much as we can. Bringing Dr. Ranker in, she used to be the OSSI coach that we had through OSPI that was assigned to us. They no longer provide content-specific coaches. So that is one of the reasons that we went with Dr. Ranker, that and her PhD in different languages and language acquisition, that sort of thing. So I feel very confident in that. She is going to lead a process specifically with Evergreen and the dual language teachers to move to a comprehensive 3-year plan. So the first step is getting together all the information, all the data, reviewing it, examine what has worked for us in the past, what hasn't worked for us in the past, and move forward from there. We are also developing a group of, I'm so sorry, it just flew out of my mind. A group of teachers, go ahead.
Were you going to say the task force?
I'm so sorry. Yes, thank you. I'm so sorry. The task force, yes. And they will be made up of teachers from both the Spanish side, the English only side, the English side that works with the dual language side, so that all of those folks together will design and implement a new 3-year goal and plan for that school, specifically designed by them and for them. That's it.
All righty. Thank you. Questions and comments from board members about the presentation?
I had a question. Thank you for assuring our parents and community members that the dual language program is something that is a priority. As we're getting close to the beginning of the school year, which is next Wednesday, I was just wondering if you can speak to, if any one of the three of you can speak to these questions that we're hearing about the K-12 program not having Spanish language support and how you are mitigating that. And I'm also hearing that most curriculum does not come necessarily with the Spanish language support. Our school district in the past has utilized our teachers to help with that. And I'm just wondering if that's what we're doing going forward with this.
Thanks, Carrie. Yes, that is true. Most of our curriculums do not come with that piece. If we were Renton or someplace like that, they have over 200 different languages. So it would be impractical to find curriculums that, speak to all those. Ours is mostly concentrated in Spanish. So that does help us out when we are trying to make things available in Spanish. It's a really accessible language for us to provide translations and guidance in. So yes, a lot of that is on the teachers. And Amber mentioned before that in the K-12 curriculum, we do and are having the teachers do live lessons. So during that live lesson, it is completely appropriate for the Spanish teachers also to provide support. So they are, they can pre-teach, reteach, go over the lesson, all in Spanish if that's what they would like to do. And as we've told everyone, that's recorded. So later in the evening, the parents can completely access that. Also, I know that there was kind of a concern about not putting out information in Spanish, but everything that we've put out on our website that can be translated has been translated. So there's that piece. And then also, we still have our paratexts and we still have folks that will fill in the roles that everyone is concerned about. So we will still have Spanish-speaking paratexts. We'll still have that outreach to the families. More support for Ricardo. We also throw in our McKinney-Vento liaison, who also happens to speak Spanish and is well connected with the community. So we really do have plans in place. I just don't know that everyone is aware of those quite yet.
Thank you. I was also told, I had run into somebody that works for the school district, that they were excited because the K-12 curriculum actually has access to Spanish books. So any of the schools, when the teachers are trying to assign books, they actually have access to more Spanish language materials than we may have had in the past for some of those grade levels. So that sounded promising to me as well.
Yeah, we also have several apps that we have put out before and will continue to put out that have links to those sort of, stories for younger kids in Spanish, many different languages actually. And within the K-12 program, there also is a translation key that you can highlight what you need and it will translate it to, I think there's 67 different languages, 68 different languages, but Spanish is the top one. So that is also a help, but I know that especially at Evergreen, Amber and Ron are both working with their staff to really pull in some ways that they can reach all of their families. We do have some families who don't speak Spanish as well and don't have a written language that goes with it. So, we have a lot of barriers that we are trying to remove just as quickly as they appear. It's day by day, minute by minute, but we are jumping those barriers just as quickly as we can.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all
You're
for
welcome.
working so hard.
Questions or comments from other board members?
Maybe we can just a little bit more information about some of the outreach that we are doing for some of our non-English speaking families, especially with Ricardo currently being unavailable. That's a pretty big hole that we're having to fill. So how are we doing that outreach? How are we making sure to provide equal access? And I guess one of my concerns as we go online, especially with our non-English speaking families, if they don't have internet, how are we going to be helping those families?
So thank you, Sally. Betty Yu, who is our McKinney-Vento person, she was working with Ricardo through this all as it was. So she has graciously taken on a lot of the help that he has provided for some of our families. She has very close connections in the community as well. So she has a spreadsheet that she keeps of all the families. And as she goes through those, we update them constantly with any feedback that we get from anyone with a family who is in need of anything. So she's working on that. We also brought our paratechs back 9 days early. So they are already working in the buildings, our Spanish speaking paratechs, to reach out and help with that. And then also for the families who don't have internet, we are working on plans. Obviously there'll be some paper and pencil things, but they will be some of the first that we bring back in small groups to give that small group support.
Great, thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from other board members? Dr. Apostle, do you have some comments? Oh, you're muted still.
As a superintendent, I would like to reiterate that we have, as a district, we have a deep appreciation for the dual language program. I am bilingual myself, and I value the dual language program and what it can do for students now and into the future. That program has had some challenges, there's no question. And we don't have the time to get into those challenges right now, but I would be happy to have a session with parents or staff, with anyone, to discuss the challenges in detail that we've had the last 3 years. But I believe currently we have great leadership, and I want people to know that the district is committed to the dual language program, and there are issues that will be dealt with in a very positive way, in a very collaborative way, to continue moving the program forward. So we are committed to the dual language program at Evergreen Elementary School. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the idea of the task force will be of great benefit as we move forward. So I was real pleased to hear that. And I had the opportunity to go through the Maravilla curriculum before we approved it. And that was a well done curriculum. I think we should be able to do a lot with that. So are there any other questions or comments about the dual language program? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead to item 5.02, the Met Academy update. And who will be leading that presentation?
I will be leading that presentation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina.
Good evening. I'm Dina Alley, Director of Academies K-12 for the Shelton School District. We are happy to be back with just a regular update on the Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology Academy. I think it's really important to know that this is a project that we've been working on for some time. It is pre-COVID, and we are just showing that we're moving forward with things that are good for our students' college and career readiness. That's a concern that we were hearing a lot about can students have the full slate of classes this fall. In the spring at all levels, we weren't able to offer all of the class programming. And now this fall, we are able to offer all of the class programming and continue our forward planning to help students, whether they're planning on going to college, whether they're going for a technical degree or certificate, or whether they're going straight to the workplace. So this is a project where we have been strongly working with our community partners to help create pathways for all of those options. First, I'd like to have Brenda Trogstad just remind us where the funding for this project comes from and how we have to spend the money. Brenda?
I'm going to start with just a quick history here of how we got here. As you know, we passed a $65 million bond in 2017, which allowed us to build a new Mountain View Elementary School, and we built a new addition to Shelton High School along with a gym. And we did upgrades to all of our other buildings, which included technology and new roofs and all sorts of things like that. By passing that, that generated $19 million in state match money. That also had to be used for facilities, construction upgrades. You can only use this money for that type of thing. So in that, we have built a new gym at Bordeaux Elementary. We've also created an addition to our mini dome. We are replacing the football field and the track. And we've also upgraded our 2 baseball, softball fields with that money. Again, it can only be used for facility upgrades and construction per state law. So during that process, as you know, we have 3 non-high districts. We have Pioneer, Southside, and Hood Canal that send their students to Shelton High School. So Dr. Apostle and those superintendents negotiated agreements because we can charge them a capital dollar amount for the upgrade at Shelton High School because we serve their kids there. So we all came to an agreement, and so they are making contributions to Shelton School District now, which also has to be used for facilities for high school students, not just at Shelton High School. It can go to Choice and to Cedar High School now. So we currently are receiving payments on June 1st and December 1st of $1,068,531 total from those 3 districts. That will be over the next 3 years till December 2022, and then we will continue receiving another payment from Southside in the following year. But that is how we're paying for the Med Academy, along with some other upgrades for probably Cedar High School and Choice.
Thank you, Brenda. We appreciate that. Like, we want to be very transparent that this is not money that can just be spent in any way. And it's directly going to programs and services that are going to help our students' college and career readiness. And Don Wielander, Director of Career Connected Learning, is with us tonight. And I'd like him to talk about, he's been researching and planning the equipment that goes into the Med Academy and the certifications that students are going to be able to get. Don?
Dina, could I just interrupt for just a minute? Excuse me, Don. I just want to be real clear that we're receiving, and I sent this information out to the community in the community newsletter, that we're receiving a total of about $6.5 million from those 3 non-high school districts. The Med Academy, we have estimates right around $4 million. And Don will talk a little bit more about the Academy and what's going to happen there. But the rest of the money will be spent on Cedar High School and the development at a future site. But I just want to make it clear, like I did in my correspondence to the community, this is money that's coming from our non-high school districts in relation to the bond that was passed in 2017. And I just want to repeat that this money can only be used for capital projects in our high schools.
Thank you, Dr. Apostle.
It can't be used for anything else. Zero. It has to be facilities at the high school level. Don, excuse me, go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. So I have been tasked with the chore of reviewing the curriculum and the equipment needs that we're going to be putting into the Met Academy. I'm going to go over just a few of the different pieces of equipment that we're going to have in there. We're going to run it in a station approach. So the kids will work in various stations and move throughout the room. As they finish one station, they'll move to the next station. The instructor will be able to go around each station and help the students. We'll have anywhere from 2 to 4 students, or probably 2 to 3 students at each station working. And here's a couple of the stations. We'll have rigging. We're going to have CNC station, which is a computer numerical control. Mechanical systems, which would be linkages, cams, turnbuckles, pulleys, gears, pumps. We're going to have hydraulics. We'll have pneumatics. We're going to have a real nice robotics station with robotic arm and different things of that nature. So they'll be able to learn how to repair and also be learning how to utilize or use the robotics. We'll have an electrical station, electrical control system station, a process control system station. We're going to have a CAD, which is computer aided drawing station. We'll have computer controlled PLC training, and that is programmable logic controllers. That is very, very big in manufacturing now. A lot of our large manufacturing companies around here, such as Sierra Pacific, uses PLCs. We're going to have a measurement tool learning system. They need to learn how to use all the tools and all their measurements. There's a lot of math that's involved in that. And we just didn't come up with these stations out of the air. We did a lot of work talking to various companies in the region to see what the needs were for jobs and what their needs were for employers. So it's been a great partnership. Through all of this, the students are going to be able to earn various industry recognized certifications. And I just want to reiterate that these IRCs, or industry recognized certifications, are another pathway to graduation now with the passage of House Bill 1599. So they will be able to utilize these classes to get their graduation requirements in also. NIMS certifications, which is the National Institute for Metalworking Skills. We have basic mechanical systems certification. We have a hydraulic systems certification, pneumatic systems certification, electrical, various electrical, electronic control system certification, process control system certification, maintenance operations certification. We are also able to give out the FANUC certifications, which is the Fuji Automatic Numerical Controls certifications. And that is mainly for robotics and CNC. So we'll be able to have robotics operator 1 and 2 certifications, robotics technician 1 and 2 certification, and also various CNC certifications. So it's a pretty exciting program. I think we're going to get a lot of interest. We've had a lot of interest from community members. So I'm looking forward to getting this thing up and running.
Thank you, Don. So we just want to reiterate that this is one piece in our academy model that not only prepares students for college, for technical certificates, for straight into the workforce, but we want to expand this. The great thing about Shelton Academies is that we're expanding this to a K-12 model where all students in the Shelton School District are going to be exposed to a wide variety of experiences and guest speakers and exploration, so that they know when they build their high school and beyond plan, it's a really authentic plan that says, I want to go do this or solve this problem in the world. And to do that, I need this training, I need this education. It's really going to be an amazing system that you as a board and the community have supported when it's fully implemented. And that work continues every day. We do not want to fall behind on doing this project for our students. So we thank you, and we're open to questions from the board about the project.
All righty, thank you very much. Are there questions and comments from board members at this time?
So just to reiterate a little bit, we have several academies that are coming fully online, or I shouldn't say online since we're doing online, are fully becoming realized this fall. Can you just sort of remind us what those are? And then the second half of this question is, as we are going online for online schooling, are we able to fully accommodate these new academies that we're expanding into?
Yes, absolutely. So where we are in our academy rollout process is this will be the second year that we've had the freshman academy. You're going to hear an update on that in a little bit. And then our first group of students who have fully picked an academy are sophomores this year. So they have had exploratory classes in at least 2 academies, and they have now picked an academy and a pathway. And we have academies in health science, in business finance and hospitality, in manufacturing, engineering, and technology, and in natural resources. And then each of those academies has a number of different pathways that students can choose from. And every year they take a minimum of 1 specific academy class, as well as then build their schedule with preferred electives, things that match up to the academy theme. So for example, if you're in health science, it also makes sense that you're going to take classes like psychology and human anatomy. While those are not your yearly academy class, they are certainly the electives you want to build in to create that well-rounded program. So this fall, what we did was we went through what the normal master schedule would look like. And as a committee, there was a group of us that did a crosswalk to the K-12 curriculum and said, where do the classes match up? And we were able to match the vast majority of classes within the K-12 system, even things like Intro to Hospitality and Tourism, which you might not think that K-12 would have, but yet they do. And so where we couldn't do that, we have accommodated those classes with the Google Classroom platform and the specialized curriculum that they have. So for example, the school board has seen Mike Byers' great automotive program, Electude. He can use a combination of Google Classroom and Electude to keep moving students forward in their knowledge. And what we have also been working with our community partners on is this idea of how do you still stay engaged with our academy courses? So where we would always have guest speakers, we're still going to do virtual guest speakers. We have a lot of community members excited about the idea that they'll wear a body cam or a GoPro for us while they go out and they do a natural resource experiment in the field, or while they're doing something. Again, to use Mike Byers as an example, he's been doing things where he's been filming himself doing automotive things so that he can build those into his lessons. Mike Carlin, the construction teacher, has started doing the same thing. So yes, we are fully integrating all of the classes. There's nothing left out. Obviously, it's not as perfect as if the students are sitting right there, but as we can safely and with permission of the state and the health department start to bring students in to have those other experiences, we will certainly do that. But we took nothing out of this schedule at Shelton High School, and we've been working closely with Choice and Cedar to help them build their program up as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Dina. So follow-up question, we were talking about how some of these certifications that students can earn through the Med Academy and also through our other academies could lead to a graduation pathway. I just want to, I sort of know the answer to this one, but I think it would be good to re-emphasize these certifications can also then lead to potential jobs when students graduate.
Absolutely. So that is another case of where we're involved with our community partners to say, here are some certifications that are available through various organizations, Precision Exams, other national organizations. And we look at that and go, are these valuable to you? Do they mean something to you? Because a certification just for a certification isn't what we're after. We're after that really authentic, if your student gets this certification and they come to you with this, will this be meaningful to you? And so, yes, they do all of those things. In addition, we're going through each class, and everywhere that we can, we are also looking at doing CTE dual credit. So those are articulation agreements with our community college partners where it says we submit the framework to the community college. They put it through an extensive review process. And if they agree, then students can get matched college credit for the courses as well. And we have some pathways like Jake Fullington's classes where he's aligned the possibility for college credit with each of his academy classes. So that's a great boost to students as well, to get them started on knowing what they want to do and seeing I can already start earning credit in that pathway. Don, did I miss anything?
No, I just want to reiterate on the dual credit. I'm pretty proud of what the CTE department has done on dual credit, because right now we're one of the highest school districts in the state for dual credit. We're at 67%. I know a lot of the Thurston County ones are in the 30s and 40% as far as their students getting dual credit. So we've had some accolades on that from the various colleges getting a hold of me and telling me thanks for sending these kids through these classes. So it's been very good. They've worked really good with our teachers.
And we want to point out that that's a wide variety of college credit. So it helps satisfy the student who is going for a certificate, for a technical degree, or going on to a 4-year college. Like, this is the entire spectrum. So that's really important for parents to understand that modern academy classes and modern career and technical education really does mean post-secondary training and schooling.
Thank you, Don and Dina.
Thank you for that question, Sally. Questions and comments from other board members?
I'm just excited that our district has gone in this direction to offer so many options for our students. There are so many different interests, and to be able to pick up on and learn and create that passion. Where do they want to go in life? And be able to follow that, get a head start with these dual credits. I think it's, especially in these difficult times, we didn't just say, okay, we're dead in the water until things have got better, that we're pushing forward and we're creating opportunities for our students. Thank you for your work on this.
And thank you. Thank you to the board for all of your support.
President Tarswell, may I make a comment, please?
Absolutely. Go right
Thank
ahead.
you. Dina and Don, could you talk a little bit about what we've talked about many times, is the scaffolding of this program and the potential expansion and actually the potential launch of this program? I think the community, the people that are involved in this meeting this evening would like to know a little bit about the fact that, you know, this is a program that's going to expand. We've prepared for that in the design of the building. And when do we anticipate, and I know the answer, but I just would like you to announce when we anticipate the opening of this program and the
Certainly.
completion of the facility.
Yeah, so we are on schedule to finish the building early fall of 2021, and we anticipate holding classes by second trimester of the 21-22 school year. So it is close, it is quick. Robert Herron is here with us tonight too, if he'd like to, you know, make comments about that. But they are doing a fantastic job of keeping us on that time schedule and on budget. And the building is meant to be expandable. It's meant to be, we're going to start here with the Met Academy, and the building is meant to, in future years, as the community desires, we can add on to either end of the building and increase programming in. We've had discussions about things like cybersecurity, because that's something that crosses every piece of our academy work. It's important in every industry that we're talking about within our academies. So the building is meant to be expandable, but this gives us a starting place, and it gives us a place where, you know, students and staff and community are really excited about it. Robert, do you want to talk about the construction project at all?
Yes, thanks, Dina. So currently, our architect is working, and they're in the schematic design phase, which they'll wrap up, and then they'll move into DDs and CDs, as they're called, which is the CDs is the final construction document set that will wrap up here towards the end of the year and be submitted for a permit, and then also will be out to bid towards late winter to start work in early spring. And as Dina mentioned, the final culmination of the construction project will be in around October of 2021, so we can get the building, all the equipment moved in and everything ready for the start of the second trimester.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for those updates. Any other questions or comments from board members? All righty. Any other comments from Dr. Apostle?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you very much for that presentation. That's always an exciting thing. I know the community is very anxious to see it come to fulfillment. So October 2021, a little over a year to go. All righty. Next up is 5.03, Cedar High School update with Stacy Anderson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me come to present tonight regarding Cedar High School. I really appreciate the opportunity. And I also want to let you know that our assistant principal, Amber Hosford, is on with us here too, as this has really been a team effort from our whole staff to bring this to fruition. So as many of you know, we've been talking about opening a new high school in Shelton for over 3 years now, and we've had a steering committee and a long process put together behind this planning. And this group included board members, or I'm sorry, not board, we have had input from board members, advisory committee members, community members, students, staff. A lot of different people have been involved in this process. So it's really exciting to be opening Cedar High School 1 week from tomorrow. So a few updates. We are still taking applications for new students, so that's pretty exciting. And we just had our first orientation on Monday. And in the past, we've always done orientations at the schools I've worked at, and we didn't want it to be any different for Cedar. So the students joined us virtually through Zoom, and the teachers put in a lot of preparation time to provide them with about a 6-hour orientation, everything from talking about school culture to what the first week of school will look like and the community values that we've agreed upon for the school. So that was pretty fun. And Amber and I both got to Zoom in with the students and get to see some student faces, which was great. We do have 2 more orientations coming up, one on Friday and one on Monday, so that hopefully almost all of the students will have done an orientation before the school year starts. So our teachers and our support staff have been working all summer really on this project. As people know, educators don't really take the summer off, and neither did they. They've had everything from ECHO training on our new grading system we'll have, to working on the school culture, coming up with community agreements for the staff and students, developing their projects. And we had a New Tech Network week-long training that was virtual, where we had a coach from New Tech come in and explain to the teachers even more in depth how to utilize the strategies of project-based learning and really good instructional strategies. So once we're able to open fully, and even if that's in a hybrid model, but having students back in the building, our curriculum will be completely interdisciplinary and project-based. So what will happen is the students will look at an essential question for the course that they're in, and it could be several essential questions over the time that they're in that course. And it has to be something that's meaningful to the community, a real world question. So you're not just maybe trying to memorize facts or, you know, learn a little bit about World War II. You're going to be looking at something really relevant. For example, a couple of our teachers were working on a project about pandemics, and, you know, what is a good way to be able to prepare for an upcoming pandemic in our society? And how do we do that effectively? So then the students would look at that, do research through various techniques, things that you're used to seeing in school, everything from writing essays to watching videos to doing experiments. And then they would develop an authentic product, usually in a small group. And the goal of that is to have it go to an authentic audience. So for example, if they were doing something around planning for a pandemic, their authentic audience might be the local, it might be community leaders at the city of Shelton. the beautiful thing too about our current world is they could do it virtually. So they might end up doing something where they are able to get somebody from the CDC, probably not right now, but maybe in the future when things aren't so busy, to be one of their guest speakers. So that's one of the beauties of what we're looking at. It's very similar to what they're doing at Shelton High School with the career academies. And it's neat to see it coming to this point, because we were able to go visit some of those career academies about Nashville a couple years ago. Dina and I were able to go see those along with other staff. So it's really interesting to see the couple pathways we've taken for these innovative schools. So some of the examples of the things that we might combine in our schedule that we have on our master schedule is a careers class with CTE and senior English, for example, so that both of those teachers are team teaching. They would have a class that would sometimes meet together as a whole group and sometimes in smaller groups. Art and publishing, again, another CTE class mixed in with an art class so that students can see the connections. We have service learning integrated throughout the whole curriculum, because we really want the students to become connected in their community, be aware of community groups like the Rotary and the Lions Clubs. And so make those networked connections. And like Dina and Dawn talked about, and they're really helping us with this too, and collaborating with business partners. One of our school board members here, Lynn, was on our advisory committee that helped us with a lot of this. So we really are looking for partners with organizations like PUD. We had a lawyer in town on our advisory committee. So we're looking at how do we get our students out into the community, meeting these folks, so that if they go on to college, there's people that have worked with them that can write letters of recommendation, or if they're looking for jobs, they have those community connections. So we also are planning on having seniors finish up their senior year with a capstone project, which is similar to maybe what you've seen a couple of years ago when we had senior projects in this state, but something even a little more in depth, where they might spend their whole third trimester doing a capstone project around a topic of their choice with, again, an authentic product. So this does differ from our academy focus a little bit, in that in those 4 academies, students really are kind of picking a career to focus in on. But at the same time, it's similar to the academies in that everything is authentic, hands-on based, and the idea is the students get those real world experiences. And ours is a little more set up at Cedar, that it's kind of more like a little bit of a mini liberal arts school in some ways, and that they really are looking at all these different topics in kind of a Renaissance student type of way. But we do have CTE integrated in, so we're planning on having construction. We already have natural resources, video production, and things like that. So really the goal is that students will graduate with a high school diploma that's equivalent to the rigor of any other diploma in the district, but also they'll be ready for a 4-year college. They'll be ready for a tech school, you know, going into a career right out of high school if that's what they want, whatever their plan is. So then, just like the other schools in the district, we are using the K-12 curriculum this fall. So we aren't going to be launching all of the projects immediately, but we did, like Dina said, for Shelton High School, we did correlate our master schedule to the K-12 curriculum. And one of the key things we will be doing is the students will be meeting with their advisory group every day, kind of separate from their K-12 classes, so that they can work on important things. Some of the fun stuff with a new school, like we want them to help pick the mascot and come up with the school theme, but also some of those more serious things too, like their high school and beyond plan, making sure they're ready for what they're doing after high school. And then, of course, we are really hoping to start in person in second trimester, even if it's hybrid. Our teachers have talked about how they would handle a, you know, kind of a 2-by-2 schedule, 2 day by 2 day. But as soon as we can get those kids in hands-on, that'll be great. But if we can't, second trimester, we've got plans to fully integrate the projects in by that point anyway, because we want to be moving that direction. So right now we are located at Choice Campus, as you are all aware for the board. The community may not all be aware of that. But we are looking for a location for next year and have some ideas in mind of where we could be located on a unique campus for Cedar High School to truly help the community see us as that 3rd high school in Shelton. That's my brief run through. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions from board members?
No question. I'm just excited for the new school, and just really interested in hearing how it continues on. I think it sounds like things are going great already, and I'm really looking forward to hearing updates on how everything goes. So thank you, Stacy and Amber.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, likewise, just really excited to see this happening, and just know the effectiveness and the benefits of smaller learning communities. Again, as I said earlier, options for all of our students. and all the different ways of learning. So most appreciative to all the work. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Sally.
I agree. I agree with that all. I did have one question. So how many students are we starting out with?
So right now we have 80 enrolled in the school and our goal is 140 by the end of the year. So in an ideal world, we would have had more right at the very start, but due to the upcoming pandemic, one of the plans we had back in March was to hire some new teachers for this school and increase the staffing as we basically looked at decreasing the size of Choice a little bit, bringing some students over from Shelton High, and then, you know, moving staff around a bit internally. So just as I know the budget is a huge concern, we did not add any FTE teaching positions at Choice or Cedar this year. We had hoped to maybe add a few teachers, but we also saw that our numbers were going to be a little lower as a district in terms of getting those enrollments. The week the pandemic started was the week we were going to be promoting at Shelton High, and we didn't get to do that quite as much. But I think as this school really takes off, the kids are going to flock to it, and I fully anticipate we'll be fully enrolled by the end of the year, and then we'll be looking at our hope is to expand over the next couple of years. Now, we know the whole world's a little different now than we had thought it would be, but our plan was to expand over the next couple of years and eventually have a school that's more around the size of 300 to 400 students at some point in the future.
Excellent. I think 80 students, I think that's great considering the current circumstances. I think you and Amber and your staff have done an amazing job.
Thank you. We appreciate all the board support. We couldn't do it without the board support, and of course, Dr. Apostle's vision in supporting us, and some of the people at district office that have just been great help to us. So it's been a team effort for sure.
How has New Tech dealt with the pandemic with classes? How has that impacted you? Have they had to change things to adapt?
Great question. So just like every other organization out there, they've been definitely adapting, but I've been really impressed actually that their services have not decreased one bit over the summer compared to what we thought might happen. So we've had a few changes in the leadership coach that was working with us, for example, but they quickly on their feet switched from a plan to have in-person trainings that we were scheduled to go to completely virtual. And it was awesome because their coaches modeled for our teachers how to do some great virtual learning, utilizing the projects, utilizing all of the resources. And one of the great things about our partnership with New Tech is we have a whole network of people all the way to Australia that are trying to figure this stuff out. So online, we have what's called the learning community of New Tech teachers. So teachers post all their lessons and work up there, and we're able to grab a lot of that from other schools to see what they're doing. And then our New Tech coach who meets with us once a week, he's actually in Atlanta. So it kind of works out because we can do all of our meetings virtually, where if it was a kind of traditional time, they would have had to find a coach that was closer to us in proximity. And he's actually a math specialist, which is great because that's one of the areas that people really, we know we need to improve, and we want to have great math curriculum. So I think they've done a nice job, and we've been pretty excited about it.
I just want to say congratulations, Stacy, and well done. It has been kind of exciting to see this come from just a spark of an idea to actually opening a high school. So a lot of work, and you guys have done a great job.
Thank you very much, Lynn.
Other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just too would like to congratulate Stacy and Amber and the staff at Choice. Their perseverance in relation to this effort has been unbelievable. And board member Sally Brownfield hit the nail on the head. What we're trying to do in relation to Graduation Matters Shelton is create options for students that will inspire them and excite them to come to school. You know, it's easy to say that we want 100% graduation, and that's the vision of our district. But in order to accomplish that, we need to risk, we need to try different ways to inspire our students to come to school every day and be very positive about their experience in the Shelton School District. And the new high school and the Med Academy and the Academy Pathways and what Don is doing in CTE those are options for kids that they're going to enjoy. They're going to enjoy coming to school every day. And that will lead them, like research has shown us, that if you're coming to school every day, your chances of graduating and going on beyond high school are tremendous. And so these efforts are all supportive of the vision of our school district. 100% graduation, that's the vision. And we will work towards that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Apostle, and thank you to the entire board for your support.
Thank you very much, Stacy.
Any other questions or comments on that? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to item 5.04. That's the K-12 platform update. I believe that's with Kelly. Do we have?
I'm here. It's that darn unmute. So for K-12, our teachers have made it all through the initial training. There are a few folks that need the makeup, but that's fine. We'll get there. We've had a few glitches, but it's a brand new program. So loading all of this, it's highly technical on the end of the secretaries and the registrars. So they are really doing their very, very best with it. We're working, some of our folks are working a huge amount of hours just trying to get this in so that it's all correct. The kids have gotten their login information. The teachers have their login information. They're not completely through the system yet because all the classes have to be loaded, but they will be. So if they're not in there completely, we have demo accounts that they can actually get in, see what it looks like from the kids' side, see what it looks like from their side, dig into the curriculum just a little bit. So I feel like we're in a pretty good place. There are, as Alex has said before, nothing is perfect and we are going to have glitches, but our folks are working so diligently on this that I couldn't be prouder of them. So that's where we are right now. We do have some families who don't have email addresses. So we're working on that right now to see if we can use the school emails addresses that the kids they're the kids' school email. And we're also working on trying to get some families, if they do have internet access, show them how to sign up for an email. And if they don't, we're doing it all by hand. So I feel like we're on there. I'm happy to answer questions though.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments from board members? I saw where Chromebooks were being distributed.
They definitely are, and we're working on the hotspots for everybody.
That was another question I had. Yeah. Okay. So everything.
Brenda, maybe Brenda could give a little bit of input about the hotspots and the Chromebooks. I don't know exactly what dates, or maybe Glenn if he's here.
Actually, we're on the agenda and a couple more items, and that's part of our presentation. So
yes, I couldn't see it. So yes. So it's there, Sandy.
Thank you. We'll get to that then. Any other questions from board members?
Kelly, I'm interested in how much training our teachers and staff have gotten on usage.
Thank you, Sally. So the first training is only a couple of hours long. It introduces them how to work with the system, how to get things up and going. But once you're into the system, there are hundreds of tutorials that they can review and go back through if they can't remember. Plus, it was recorded, so they can go back over that. Some of the teachers that have gotten into it have said, some of them have said, you know, this is not difficult. We can work through this. There's only one small part that's a little tricky, but the rest is good. So we have that. Plus, I'm looking into how much more time we would need if indeed we do need more time. Some of our principals have used some of the district time to give their folks more hours to work through it. So we're supporting it. I'm just waiting for a little bit of feedback from the union.
Is there a way to give, besides just how it works and how to get into it, how to be creative with it? Are there demonstrations and ways of encouraging the teachers and how to set up those little chat groups and how this can really be relevant even to our little kindergarten kids. How can they start the first day of school being, maybe in little chat groups, so, and giving them a little bit of, so they get to know who's in their classroom and whatever, even especially since it's in this kind of format, using the different polling
Tool.
kind of things.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
know there's tutorials and things like this, but are there demonstrations that show how this has and can be used in a classroom setting to really engage?
Yeah, there definitely are tutorials on that as well. And the trainer did go over those pieces, Sally. So the teachers saw how they could remove lessons that they didn't want to use with the kids, and then how to upload new lessons. So they saw that part. They also saw I think it's called Neuro instead of like Google Classroom or the Zoom. It's part of that. And so it's set up very similarly to Zoom. And actually, your question is well timed. We are going to be talking with folks, I think tomorrow, about, the first couple days of school, you wouldn't really dig into the curriculum like you wouldn't typically dig into it if you were just starting school anyway. Like the first few days, you're trying to connect with the kids, get to know them, build the bonds, that sort of thing. And that is easily done with this platform, easily done.
And how we've heard some comments and we've gotten the emails. So I am interested and knowing we're doing this K-12 platform. Is there anything that is translated? Is it totally all in English only?
So it is just like almost all of our other curriculums. It is in English only. Most of our other curriculums are English only as well. We have a few that do have Spanish supports, but very few. However, it does translate. So if a student is reading a passage and they need that translated, they highlight it, check what language they want, and it translates it into Spanish or any other language, not any other language, but one of the other 68 languages that they have. We're also part of the support is during that live time, those groups that you talked about, pulling aside, and that the Spanish speaking paratext, paras, teachers can also help with pre-teaching, front loading, doing it all in Spanish if that's what they feel that they need to do to help reach some of those kids. And those are all recorded, so they can view them later.
Okay. So if the student reads in Spanish or several other languages, some of this curriculum might actually be a little more accessible.
Some parts of it would be more accessible. It just isn't like in our FOSS kits for our science. They do come with some of the pieces in Spanish, but this is not like that. And most of our other curriculums are not like that too. So this actually, like our US history book, say in high school, that typically doesn't, it's all English. So what this program can do is if the student's reading that piece of material online, they can highlight it, yes, just like you said, and put it into the language that they need.
So some of this that's concerning, and I've heard some comments about, is about the usability and the access for the whole thing about using the internet and everything for our children that don't know how to read yet.
Right. So we do have some of those kids, but they are still all by law entitled to have the regular curriculum available for them. So it is available, but we do have for students who are struggling, we are wrapping extra care around those students. So for instance, if we do have a group of kids who have no reading skills, those will be the first small groups of students that we bring back into the school to meet in small groups face to face with, to provide that support.
And tell me again about the communication with the families. You mentioned that the kids all have information now. They know, are the families. I had a single mom call me today and said, I haven't heard anything from the school and I don't know what to do.
So if we put it out, and Katie,
what do I tell them?
Katie did blast out, but there's also what you would tell them, and what we're telling everybody is please contact your school registrar or secretary, or even the principal at that school. Give them your name and we'll put it back through. In her case, it could very well be that we had a bad email address, one that didn't work, and it got bounced back. So that's why we were trying to get out to everybody to make sure that all their contact information in Skyward was correct, because that's where it was pulled for. So we put out several communications, English, Spanish, out in writing, in phone calls, robocalls, all kinds of things to say, if you haven't heard, please, contact the school.
Yes, I had a different parent contact me last week, and that's what I told her. Call the school, do this, that, and she got through to the school and got everything she needed. So
yeah, they're working overtime on this, Sally. They really are. They're trying to be so responsive, and even our customer service person, our tech person from K-12, has been hand entering things herself for us to make sure that we can get through this process in this short of time.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the great questions.
Anybody else with questions or comments?
I do have a comment I would like to make, please.
Certainly, go ahead.
Just like anything new, not everything is going to be perfect. It's just not. And there's going to be glitches. And I've asked Kelly to make sure that we work with K-12 to provide ongoing professional development for our staff. And we're going to stay close to the staff to make sure that we're meeting their needs, because this is different. It's a big change. And we want to make sure that our teachers feel supported and they understand the K-12 program. And we're going to do everything possible to support them. I just want to make sure that our staff understands that and our principals do. But it's important for us to provide the support necessary to be successful across the board. And I know Kelly is making this a priority. She and I have talked quite a few times with Mary Ann also, that we need to support our staff in any way possible. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, I'll ask one about crosswalking. That's been a term we've heard when we're comparing our curriculum to what's available in the K-12. Has the Maravillas curriculum been crosswalked to the K-12 platform?
You're kind of cutting out, Sandy. I don't know if Kelly heard your question.
With some technical difficulties. I hope it's coming across.
I got
If
it,
not-
Sally. I got it. So Sally was asking if
I wondered if the Maravillas curriculum has been crosswalked. Okay, all right.
Sorry, Sandy, I called you Sally. So, yes, so there are crosswalks between the two to see if their curriculum matches something that's on K-12. K-12 does not have a Spanish language arts program, but Maravilla has its own platform. So the kids already, last year we used Maravilla as well. So they should be able to manage that. most of the lessons can just be moved over to the K-12 platform if they want. But the Maravilla platform is actually very cool. And it, you saw it last year. I think it was last year, the year before. It will read the stories to the kids. It will give them translations. It will give them vocabulary. It has all sorts of supports. So the teachers are going to continue to use that one. We're trying not to give too many platforms, but in this case, they will need this one extra piece. But it should work with Clever, which is our other platform, which will draw up things automatically. And then we can put a link out that they just hit the link and it goes straight there for them.
Thank you very much. I think that really fills in a little bit of the missing piece there. So appreciate that. Any other questions or comments about the K-12 platform update? All righty, Dr. Apostle, anything?
Oh, no, thank you. That's fine.
All righty. All right, thank you very much, Kelly. We'll move on to the staffing update with Terry, Dr. Meisenberg.
Well, good evening. It's good to be here and thank you. Well, we've had challenges, as you know, but we're really in pretty good shape right now on the certificated side. As you know, there are 10 positions that we did not fill this year. The principals and assistant principals have been great working with us. There's been challenges, but I think we're going to end up being spot on for the first day of school. We had 3 resignations on the certificated side this last week. Late ones, of course, we didn't know they were coming. 1 in Evergreen and 2 at the high school. And so they have advertised for those positions and the applications are closed. And we've released to the building. So now Amber and Bruce and their teams can go ahead and do the review and the hiring. So I think come the first day of school, we're going to be 100% on the certificated side. So at Evergreen, that's an elementary specialist teacher, and at the high school, it's a math teacher, and it's a CTE family and consumer science teacher. So on that side, we're really in good shape, and we're appreciative of the principals, and we're looking forward to the next steps. On the classified side, of course, lots of challenges, as you know, and been tough, been really tough. But on the HR side, the first thing when we're looking at the possible reduction of staff is our job is to start off by creating a seniority list. We do that, and then we send that seniority list to the unions and have them review it. Typically, and of course we've done that, and then there are questions. There'll be a question from union leadership or from an individual member saying, I don't think that seniority is right for me. So, and every time we have a question about that, we go in, we look at the file, we review it. If we need to make an adjustment, of course, we make that adjustment. So that dialogue has gone back and forth several times, and we're feeling like we're in pretty good shape right now on the seniority list. And it's been a day or two since we've had any kind of questions about it. So I think we're in pretty good shape. If we get more, of course, we're going to continue to take a look at it. The other thing is that we took the language out of each contract. And of course, everyone knows that every union has their own particular layoff procedures, and it's unique to them. So we took the contract language, which is in a paragraph form in the contract, and we break it down numerically. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the steps of any kind of layoff. And we sent that to all of the leadership to get their feedback to make sure that the way we read that and the way they read it is the same. And we've done that. And, that was, it was straightforward. And so, of course, we're not, we've done our certificated hiring with the exception of 3 positions. We're not doing classified hiring but we've done some legwork for potential layoffs. And so that's where we are in terms of our unions and our principals. And principals have also, by the way, getting the seniority list, so they have a sense of that. So one of the questions, and we got a lot of questions from not only union leadership, but also from members who contacted us, who we talked with and tried to. And one of the questions that actually came up earlier this evening too, that comes up quite a bit, is the difference between FTEs and, you know, real people. And that's a confusing idea sometimes for people. And so we spend time talking about that and reviewing that. But that's pretty much where we are. We think we're going to be ready. Well, we know we're going to be ready on day one. And so anyway, appreciate the work that everyone's been doing. It's been tough work. We know that. But we're moving forward.
Questions or comments from staff, board members, or Dr. Apostle?
No, that's fine.
Do we have all of our K through teachers, K through 3 teachers?
We do. Yeah, we do. We're in good shape. We have all of our elementary teachers with one exception. We have all of our secondary teachers with 2 exceptions. So we're in very good shape on the CERT side. And frankly, the principals, they've been bending over backwards to make sure they get everyone on board and stuff. So it's been a very, very good working relationship, and we've been very appreciative.
Very much.
Thank you.
Hearing no other questions or comments for Dr. Meisenberg, we'll move on to the Freshman Academy update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we ready for me?
I believe so, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me to give this update. I will be the sole update giver. In case nobody's got me on video, this is Curtis Patching, the assistant principal in charge of the Freshman Academy at Shelton High School. We are focusing on 2 different areas as we try to amend the things that we were doing last year and things we knew we needed to improve on. So focus number 1 is welcoming our students. Normally we would say welcoming our students to campus, but it's just welcoming our students to Shelton High School, making sure that they are comfortable asking questions before the school year starts and getting as much information about them as we can. And then the second focus, once they get here, is how are we going to support them, which whatever way that means. Is it support with the learning, making sure that they have access to teachers when they need it, but also just supporting any social emotional needs that they may have, figuring out how we are going to adapt to this new class. And first thing we have to, figure out what help is needed and then how we're going to do it. So the focus on getting them here, last year we were able to do campus tours, inviting them all here before the school year started. Obviously we cannot do that. We did put out a campus tour video at the beginning of the summer. We'll be re-putting that out just in case we have some new people that hadn't had a chance to watch it. Normally, Ms. Worsbicki and I had a plan to go out to all of the campuses and sit down with each student, new freshman one-on-one. That was to take place after we were told no more coming to school. So we have collected, Ms. Worsbicki has collected information from feeding school counselors and teachers on who not only was struggling in the regular school environment, but who might have also become disconnected during distance learning. And we are reaching out to those students, making sure that they have schedules, making sure that they have a contact, making sure that they've spoken to somebody here, so it's not just day one, everything new, everything kind of crazy. We are also planning, once they are here, some of the things we put in place last year, including the counselor in the classroom, obviously cannot take place. Ms. Worsbicki has set up a Google Classroom that she's inviting all freshmen to be in, that is going to be just for freshman announcements. It would also be a place to exchange ideas, places where they can ask questions of each other and of Ms. Worsbicki and of myself. We're both going to be set up as teachers in that Google Classroom. We have regularly scheduled just kind of, I don't know what to call them. They're just sessions that students have been invited to via video chat to talk to some of the older students, just to get a general sense of community. Not necessarily has to be about school, but we're just kind of trying to open up as many different ways as we can of communication to let them feel like they are a part of the virtual campus that we are setting up. We also have a video going out that is going to make sure that they know what their administrators look like. We are all in the video. This is actually going to be for all Shelton High School students, but it sets up a day in the life of a K-12 student. We talk in there about some of the expectations that we have for them, for an online student, some of the expectations we have just as high climbers, and trying to make sure that they know that even though they're not here on campus, we do want to make sure that they are active and they're engaged in their schoolwork. And if they are not, we are going to provide as many ways as we can to support them. That information is all going out in that video. Let's see. I keep looking behind me because that's where my whiteboard with all of this information is. Some of the things that we know that we or think that we might not be able to do that were big hits last year, but Dina is already working on or what they're going to look like this year, like the reality fair that was a big success for the half that we got to do it for, an online version of that Dina is working with, how they're going to make their academy of choices for the 21-22 school year, and how we're going to get the different speakers that we were providing for the freshmen, specifically for freshmen, and how those are going to work. The last thing that we are in the planning stages of, for those students that are disconnected and we cannot seem to find any other way, is working on a home visit team and what those are going to look like. And then eventually, once we have our plan, presenting it to those at the district office, they would be able to say, yes, there's no safety concerns with that, and making sure that we follow all the protocols that we need to make sure our staff is safe. I think that is, we are also going to be working on advisory plans for the freshman class. We just got our list of freshman advisory teachers that we're pretty excited about, a good mix of experience levels and a good mix of subject areas and things like that for our freshmen, just as one more resource for them. I believe that is all I have unless there are questions.
Thank you very much for that. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Dr. Apostle?
Well, I've worked closely with the administration last year in terms of some expectations in respect to this year. The fact that we're dealing with the pandemic and safety protocols really, quite honestly, has hampered some of the things that we were intending to do. There's no question. But I think Curtis and the team are doing everything possible to do some of the things differently that we discussed last year. And I'm feeling pretty good about the way they're approaching everything, getting acquainted with the students, establishing standards and expectations, getting to know the students and letting them know that, we're here to support you, and having those relationships with teachers. That's going to be extremely important to those ninth graders. The ninth grade year is extremely important, and we need to be able to support our ninth graders in every way possible and encourage them and direct them towards success. And I feel that's going to happen, even though it's not exactly the way we planned it. but I have confidence in Curtis and the administrative team. I think they've heard me, and I believe that we're going to be heading in the right direction. Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you.
Questions and comments from board members? Okay. In lieu thereof, till we can do the home visits, I assume there'll be some follow-up phone contact or some sort. Will we have some sort of contact until such time as we can have home visits for students that need that extra touch?
Yeah, the home visits are kind of our last ditch effort. This is after teachers reach out with phone calls, after Ms. Worsbicki, Freshman Academy counselor, reaches out with phone calls, after I reach out, even using the anybody else that might need to be involved, you know, in each different situation, whether it's a McKinney-Vento liaison or, you know, it's somebody in calling about attendance, those kind of things. So the home visit team would kind of be for now, would be kind of the last ditch efforts. If we find other ways to use them, then we will certainly, that are going to be effective, we will certainly use home visits however we can, as long as we're being safe. That would be, there would still be phone calls and emails and attempts to reach out via class every way we can. This is actually a pretty good point to make sure that just so you know, one of the open lines of communication that we're working on is a virtual office, which has pictures of Ms. Worsbicki and I both, ways that students can schedule appointments with her or I, just trying to put it all in one spot, making it as easy as possible for them to get in contact and try to make those connections, whether so maybe we don't have to come out to their home because maybe they don't want that.
Thank you very much. That's good to know about the virtual office. I think that has a lot of potential, and it's nice to hear that there are multiple levels of people to be checking in, that it isn't just a couple of people that check in and then nothing. So I'm glad to see that. Any other questions or comments from other board members? All right. Thank you very much for that update on the Freshman Academy. We will move along to the update on technology and teaching and learning support. I think that'll be Glenn.
Yes, it will be. Good evening, school board members and Dr. Apostle. I was asked to give a quick little update on some of the things that we're doing for technology support with regards to teaching and learning. And so I'm working on my screen share here while I'm talking. And excuse me, I'm also starting to come down with the cold or something, but hopefully I'll make it through here. So I want to go over just a few things, kind of some of the areas, and these are all in addition to what we normally are doing at this time of the year, because it is a busy time of year for tech services, working with new accounts for students and staff. But specifically for online learning, we're doing different things with teaching equipment, with student equipment, working with internet connections for families, and how are we going to support those student and families, and also how are we going to support our staff with their new endeavors. On the side of teacher equipment, one thing that we have done is we've checked out a number of Chromebooks for our staff members. So we're not only checking those out for our students, but we also check those out for staff that need to have a computer at home. Web cameras, one thing that they're going to need to do their online teaching. We had a handful of web cameras, and we had some document cameras that also serve as web cameras, but we still need 150 of those. So those have been ordered, and they'll be arriving, and we'll get those all installed. They're plug and play cameras. So even though there's 150, that shouldn't take us, too long to get those installed. As was mentioned earlier, we are distributing more Chromebooks. We have new students to the district, whether they're kindergarten students, students that have moved into the area, or if they're transferring in from one of our 9 high schools. So we had a checkout of Chromebooks today from 10:30 to 1 p.m. kind of correlate with the meal pickup times. And then we did an afternoon session from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. We did those at Shelton High School and also Bordeaux. And today we checked out 306 additional Chromebooks. And we're going to be doing the same thing on Thursday, hitting the same time periods, but we're hitting Evergreen and Mountain View for those particular checkouts. So one of our main issues that we have are, what are we doing with our students that don't have internet? So one of the things we're working with the buildings, we have students that transferred in from one building to the other. So like Mountain View students that are going to OMS, or OMS went to OBJ, and those buildings don't know anything about their students and their internet access. So I took the list that I was working on last year that I Google mapped, and I basically put that in a format, upgraded all the students to their current grade level and sent that off to the buildings. That hopefully that gave them a little bit of a head start on what to look for and who they needed to contact. One of the things that was announced on, I think it was August 12th. My rough draft, I had the date there. I think it was August 12th, but part of the CARES Act for the state is for an internet process to reach some of our low-income families that cannot afford to have internet connections. And so the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction is working on that particular project. Things are coming a little slow from the state regarding that, so we're not relying on that, but that'll be nice when it does get here, because that will basically give internet free for low-income families all through this particular school year. In addition to that, some of the things that you've already heard, and I put both these on the same screen because some people get a little confused between when we talk about PUD hotspots and we're talking about hotspots for the home. So we have the PUD, we've talked immensely about that. I think the last time I presented, we were getting ready to do the PUD installations at Evergreen and Bordeaux. Those have now been completed. So both those two parking lots now also have the PUD Wi-Fi. And there's URL there if you want to look of where those are out in the rest of the county. They have a nice map with all of those locations. So in addition to that, we're looking at home hotspots, and these are going to be hotspots that are basically cellular devices that get a cell signal, and they basically can then take that cell signal and they translate that over to Wi-Fi access. So any devices that have Wi-Fi capabilities, they're going to be able to hook up to the internet using those. We weren't sure how those will work. When you look at, Verizon or T-Mobile, their Wi-Fi or their cellular access, they say they cover everywhere. So we've actually been going out. Aaron was out driving around to some of the locations and kind of verifying whether or not they're working and seeing how accurate their maps are. So this will be a good solution for some of those people. I know one that had no internet, couldn't even get internet, wasn't even a funding issue. They can't get internet where they're at. And we drove by and the Wi-Fi hotspot is going to work for that particular instance. So that is excellent news for that. As far as student and family support, we're doing that in a variety of different ways. We instituted last spring 2 methods of communication. We received a lot of emails and phone calls with questions. So we've helped out a lot of people through that particular method. Email's not for everyone, phone call's not for everyone. So we have both of those 2 options available, and you can see our numbers and our email address for those that are up there. We do get some Spanish speakers that call into our phone lines, and if we can't interpret what they're asking, we do have translators that can help us out, and we can get them the help that they need for that. In addition to that, one of the things that we need is some way for parents to call classrooms, and without having to go through the circuit board through the office, we want them to be able to call directly to the classrooms. So we're working on setting up every classroom with their own separate phone number. So if a parent or student has a question, they can pick up the phone and dial their teachers directly. So we hope that is going to be a good option. If the teacher's not available, it's in the middle of the night or something, They can leave a voicemail and the teachers can access that when they're in their classroom, or they can also access their voicemail offsite. We also support staff. This is new. I mean, I remember the first time I had to give a Zoom meeting, I was a little nervous before I did it. And I work with technology, so I can understand how our teachers feel about things like that. We've been working a lot with the buildings. Brenda and I met separately with each one of the buildings with their principals. We also brought along our tech support building coordinator for that building. And we met with the principals and said, okay, so here we are, we're 2 weeks from the beginning of school. What are your tech needs? And so we went through their list, and then beyond that, and actually they were in pretty good shape at that time, which was nice to hear. But you know, there's always those things that come up after the meeting. And so they're working directly with our building tech coordinators, and they're meeting the needs of the teachers and what the principals are pointing them out to. We plan on being there when we start going live next week, and our teachers should have their building support coordinators. We have some assigned to every building, and they'll be there to help them out and answer questions, make sure their cameras are working and they feel comfortable with it, and they're able to teach using the K-12 platform. So I think that is my last slide, kind of just a quick overview. Hopefully I didn't go too quick, and I'm glad my voice held out, and I'm sure Brenda is also glad that it held out.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. It's good.
Yes, thank you very much. Any questions or comments about the technology? With only 306 picked up so far today, or this morning, I guess that was, are we concerned or confident that we'll get everything picked up by start?
Yeah, sorry for interrupting there, but we did last June make the decision that we're not going to pick up all of our Chromebooks that we had out last spring. So we still have over 2,000 Chromebooks that are still out in family homes right now. So this is just the additional Chromebooks for students that didn't have them or didn't need them last year.
Ah, very good. Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay.
Thank you for all the work that you're doing, Glenn. I'm really happy to see that those hotspots are going to be working for some families. I know it still doesn't solve everybody's internet connection issue, but I appreciate that you guys are driving around, testing that out, seeing what can be done so that we can be reaching as many people as we possibly can. And yes, Sandy, my family is one of those that still has a Chromebook checked out from last year. So we don't need to be picking any Chromebooks up this year. So I know there's still a lot of families that had those from last year, and they've been able to utilize those. And hopefully these hotspots and connections that the PUD is placing will help families get more connected as well too.
Yep.
And I know that funding is not necessarily, we don't have that funding yet. We hope that there is that comes in, but again, that's another question mark.
And this is definitely something where one thing is not going to fit every family in every situation. So, you know, some already have their internet. Some people are probably using their cell phone or making their own hotspot. We're providing them with hotspots. Driving to the PUD, and if they can't do that, then they're going to be talking with teaching and learning, and they'll be working with them for some other solution. So big project and takes a lot of collaboration.
And this money for the hotspots was part of the CARES Act money, correct, Brenda?
That is correct. We do have an allocation in that CARES grant to pay for the hotspots. The one Glenn mentioned from OSPI, they will be paying for that one directly out of additional CARES funding that they received at the state level. But like you said, the information is slow. We were supposed to have it this week to get to our families, and we have not received any information yet. So.
Very much. Any other questions or comments from board members? Anything from Dr. Apostle?
Thank you. Thank you, President Tarswell. Number one, the needs are many in our 7 schools. We just have 7 schools, but the needs are many. And we don't have 30 people in our tech department. And I can tell you that they have worked very hard to meet the needs of each and every school. They met with each principal. They asked the right questions to make sure that schools had what they needed to reopen. And I can't thank Glenn and Brenda and Aaron and the entire team enough for all their extra effort. I mentioned to them that, you know, we've got to get this done, and whatever it takes, we need to do it, and they've done it, and they're still at it. But they've worked very, very hard and very smart. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Any last minute questions? Oh, I had one. Are the instructions for getting onto a hotspot already translated into Spanish?
We are still developing those right at the moment. So
All righty.
be the next we get to. It's just one thing after the other. But yeah, we were talking about getting those just today with Brenda. So, yep.
Yeah, I noticed on the website there are, you know, quite a few Spanish instructions for doing the Chromebooks and doing this, that, or the other thing. So I figured that would be coming too. So, all righty. Thank you very much. Board members had a chance to review the consent agenda.
Yes.
All righty. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda for August 25th. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
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 All righty. Any opposed? All righty, the consent agenda passes. This time we will move on to item number 7, discussion and action items. First up is the proposed resolution number 20-06, which is the reduced educational program. And we have Brenda to present that to us originally or first. So if you would share with us.
Okay. I would like to share the spreadsheet that I have shared before because we did make a change on that. So I would like to share that with everyone first, if you're okay with that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I don't know if you want me to go through everything again, but I can point out the change, and then if people have questions, we can. What we did, we actually moved, I'll highlight it here, the para educator and the para techs down into the layoff section instead of up above in the actual budget reduction section where we originally had it. The thought for this is if we find that we do need to call back paras, that puts them in the recall process for their contract language. So we have made that change on here. So that does change this dollar amount down here, and it reduces the amount up there. So the budget reduction is a little over $3 million. And then the layoff, if it happened for the full year for all the groups, would be $6,766,398 or $563,867 a month. So depending on how things flow, as we see our needs and we call back people, that is the change on this spreadsheet. So does anyone have any questions on that at this point in time?
And of course, we want to see staff be called back. So we don't, you know, hopefully we don't have the entire $6,000 saved. We want to be calling staff back, but we can't do that until we know, number one, what is our enrollment going to be? And we won't know that for a little while yet.
Yeah.
So, okay. Any other questions from other board members? Comments? I wanted to point out the proposed resolution number 20-06, the last paragraph on it is written such to be, well, the entire resolution is worded to be very flexible. The last paragraph specifically authorizes the superintendent to forego any of the cuts set forth in the resolution if it becomes feasible, and to explore other alternatives to layoff that might be financially appropriate. So this is intentional language and was done because of the uncertainty of the state revenues that lingered so late into the budget cycle. In fact, we have word that the governor may speak again tomorrow and talk about something else that may impact our budget. So this resolution, as it's worded, allows us to proceed, but gives us the flexibility to change things as needed. So any other comments from board members?
I would just add that the resolution, if anyone has not read it in its entirety, is out on the school board website. You just click on district and school board and then go to resolutions, and anyone can see the whole thing. And to me, this entire time that we've been looking at this, that last paragraph has been the key part of it. None of us want to be in this position. We've painstakingly met month after month, every single week, trying to figure out what we may be foreseeing as far as funding. And what is critical will be, since we're in a pandemic and people have seen school completely change for them, what will our enrollment actually be? And then looking at our state losing revenue, what will they choose to give us in our funding, or what will they short us on? These are all things that have kept me up, late at night, this whole time. And it's my hope that when we look at making any of these reductions, the last thing we want to do is lay off food service people, bus drivers that are needed if we were regularly going to school, our paraeducators that help our teachers. But if we're not in school and we're doing this online, we're in a no-win situation. If we don't get the funding, how do we fund these positions? And then what do we do when we need the people to come back? So I hear what those people were saying when they bring up these comments. And I will share personally, in my own industry, I am facing a restructuring in my company and potential layoff announcements. This is happening in so many industries, and it's definitely happening in school districts across our entire United States. So these are very unprecedented and difficult times. But I am holding on hope for that last paragraph, that as we get funding information, which does seem to change, and we were hoping that we were going to get more solid information by this point in time, but we have to do all of this by August 31st is my understanding. That's Brenda's shaking her head.
Yes,
So yeah.
that's the legal requirement to adopt a budget. Yes.
Yes. So we may have to make some decisions and then have to, if there are other options, I just hope that our community does understand that we are trying to find every way possible to work with that and also have a budget that is sustainable for our school district.
And if state revenue projections don't improve, we're going to be looking at more cuts again next year. We'll be having these same discussions and the same comments at next year's budget hearing. Cut salaries, not positions. Did the district consider salary reductions? Did they consider furloughs? But the question is there union support for it? Will the union support it next year? So those are things that we have to all work together to resolve. So,
And
any
I
other-
think it's sometimes people see just an overall, here's a certain amount of money, but we're also not able to use that just however we please. There are stipulations on all of it. And I think one of them is the bus drivers, which it's a terrible thing that we have. Bus driving is a very difficult job for a school. And we really appreciate them all. But when it comes to things that were mentioned, like delivering food and packets and whatever, we're not allowed to, the only thing that we get funded for from a school district's perspective and from OSPI is on the ridership, if the students are actually on the buses. And so it's been very hard. I appreciate everything that Carrie said. We have all stayed up very late and had week after week after week of meetings trying to figure this out. And we have a deadline. We have to get this in, even though we don't have the answers. We don't have all of the information. And new, like Carrie said, new and different information will be coming in weekly. And so that last paragraph is the most important, that we can be flexible and that we can do everything possible to meet the needs of our community. That's what we're here for.
Well, we hope our families have trust enough to enroll their students with us and, trust us to provide the education for them. So, other comments or questions? Any other questions about the resolution itself?
Sandy, I just, I'm really struggling with this decision, and I've shared that with you and Alex. This has been an incredibly hard process. When I volunteered for this position, I had no idea a pandemic would be putting us in this impossible situation. I was born and raised here, as was pointed out, several people who spoke tonight, and I have a lot of friends, I have family members, acquaintances who are all impacted by this decision. I appreciate so many people who reached out to me, either through the phone, messages, letters. I feel like their comments were very thoughtful. And there were, the people who spoke tonight and whose letters were read tonight had many valid concerns. While we've spent a lot of time asking these same questions, over the weeks, like Sally was mentioning, or Sandy, I'm sorry, Sally was mentioning that we've talked about these things and asked these questions. And I've personally followed up on additional concerns that have come up. And I don't agree with every detail of this plan, but I also know that we can't keep everyone employed. It's just not an option, especially with this deadline. So I am happy that staff has made, some accommodations, but especially like moving the paras to layoff status based on public feedback. I agree that that paragraph in the resolution gives us that flexibility, and I just hope that we as a board can urge staff to continue looking at these cuts critically and any other areas that we can. Some of the ideas that came up tonight, including like shared work or let's take a critical look at our projected reserves, things like that. I think we need to move forward and find a way to reduce the number of people who we are putting out of work. It's not good for our community. It's not good, obviously, for morale and our students. So we need to find ways to get them reemployed as soon as possible. But it's just not a good, it's a no-win situation.
I think that may be a topic that will be under discussion tomorrow with the governor about work sharing. And so then, you know, how will we work with our unions? How will our unions help us to do work share? So that'll be another discussion. So any other questions or comments?
Just a reminder that as difficult as this is, that every school district across our state is struggling with the same issues. I've spoken to quite a few of them, and it's like you said, a no-win. It's just so difficult to have to go through something like this. And, it's a statewide issue.
Dr. Apostle, did you have any other comments?
I do. I will mention some of them during the superintendent's report. If that will work for you, I would prefer to say what I'm going to say under superintendent's report, please.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Any other questions or comments then before we look at the resolution? Are we prepared to take action?
I move that we approve resolution 20-06.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the proposed resolution number 20-06? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor of approving the resolution number 20-06, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty. And again, I think that last paragraph is very paramount to remember and to keep in mind as we move forward. What that, the impacts to staff today may be different than the impacts to staff next week. So that gives us flexibility, and we appreciate the wording on that. Moving on to 7.02, proposed resolution number 20-07, adopting the 2020-2021 school district budget. Brenda, do you have something for us there?
I can share the budget on this, or the resolution on the screen if you like. I have it, or I can just give you the brief details of what each fund gives the capacity to spend in that fund, whichever you prefer.
If you can share your screen, I think that would probably be
okay.
Easiest to understand.
Okay, I just gotta find it here.
And while you're doing that, I'll make a comment that, just because the district projects an ending fund balance of X amount of dollars doesn't guarantee that we reach it. You know, for example, our year 2018, 2019, we projected an ending fund balance of 4.2 million. The actual was actually 2.5. That's a sizable difference. And so while there's been a lot of comment about our ending fund balance, there's a danger in getting it too low as well. I see Brenda has that up on the screen. We'll go ahead and let her talk about the resolution.
So this is a requirement when you adopt a budget in a first class district. The wording is given to you of what you need to use. So I just want to go down in the resolution and highlight. Here is where you are fixing and determining your fund appropriations for the 2020-21 budget. And then we're also required to project out a 4-year budget summary and a 4-year enrollment projection, which they're all very conservative, similar to this budget, as we know what is coming forward in the deficit with the state. We've also given that the state auditor has just finished up, and we've passed that along to her to also to review for the future. So you will be appropriating in the general fund expenditures of $65,441,016. In the capital projects fund, you will be allocating $11 million in expenditures. Transportation vehicle fund, which is to purchase buses only. You've allocated $250,000 to buy buses. Debt service fund is to pay back our bonds that we passed. That's $5,952,038. And then Associated Student Body Fund, of course, is at all of our secondaries, and that is run by the students. That's $651,469 in expenditures. So that is basically what this resolution does, is it allows the appropriation for all of those funds for the next fiscal year that begins September 1st.
Thank you, Brenda. Is there questions or comments from board members? I see an open mic. I don't see anybody speaking. Okay. All righty. Is there any further discussion? Are we prepared to?
I move that we approve resolution number 20-07, adopting the 2020-2021 school district budget.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt or to approve resolution number 20-07. Is there any further discussion? Comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the 2020-2021 school district budget with this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All righty. The budget is adopted. And again, that was a lot of work and study went into that. You know, we have to provide for the financial solvency and stability of the district. And just like you value your own personal credit score, the district has needs to have a responsible ending fund balance, because that counts towards the district's financial score when we go out for a bond or we go out for a loan, like the one we just paid off. So it also allows us to continue functioning even when the state fails to pass its budget and shuts down, which it did twice in the last few years. So I thank everybody involved with developing the budget and with community comments and with passage of the budget. With that, we'll move on to item 7.03, the proposed fuel bid for the upcoming school year.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen again. I will put, let's see here. There it is. Okay. So we went out to bid on our fuel because we do this annually. And as of right now, we don't need to purchase fuel, but we do have to have the bid in place for when we come back to school. So we had two bids. It was Petroleum Traders and Don Small and Sons. And we bid this over the rack price that comes out of Tacoma. They bid a differentiation, and Petroleum Traders came in low this time on this one. Our normal fuel person did not bid, so we will be requesting that you award to Petroleum Traders for the 2020-21 school year.
Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Brenda, is this just upon actual use?
Yes. So we don't sign a contract with them. In our bid documents, we give an estimate of what we believe we will need, and that's how they bid.
But do we have to meet that estimate?
No.
Thank you.
So there's no penalties or surcharges for going over or under our estimate, correct?
No, that's correct.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Are we ready to make a motion on this?
I move that we accept the 2020-2021 fuel bid for Petroleum Traders Corporation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the fuel bid. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving this fuel bid to Petroleum Traders, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. The bid is approved. Thank you very much. Next up is the dairy bid for the upcoming school year as well.
Okay, I wrote
Brenda,
that one
give us
on
that.
here for you. Yep. So this one also, we did it on the same day, so we could do it all at once, but we have two bidders for dairy, which is pretty typical for dairy. And we are recommending, Catherine did estimates on what she believes we'll need for this year, and then she calculated out. And Dairy Fresh Farms is our low bidder. They're our current supplier right now also. So we would like to recommend that you award to Dairy Fresh Farms.
And again, like the fuel, this is a by use, what we actually purchase and use. So
that is correct.
So if we're not buying chocolate milk, we're not paying for chocolate milk.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. Any other questions or comments from board members? Seeing none then, are we ready to take action on the dairy bid?
I will make a motion to approve the proposed 2020-21 dairy bid with Dairy Fresh.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposed dairy bid for school year 2020-2021. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All righty, we have approved the dairy bid as well.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. This evening, we presented the Shelton School District budget for the 2020-21 school year, which takes into account many serious issues, but none more important than people's livelihood, their health and safety, and of course, the ultimate solvency of the Shelton School District and our continued march towards providing an exceptional educational program for our students. There were 4 elements that influenced our conversation and decisions this evening. the pandemic, number one, the uncertainty of our projected enrollment, moving our school district, number three, moving our school district to a hybrid model at some point, and the associated increased expenses required for this transition. And number four, which is very, very important, preparing our school district for any financial challenges that are sure to come during and after the 2021 school year. My administration and the school board comprehend public school finance. We know how and when to allocate, redistribute, collapse, reduce, or enhance our programs when appropriate, as evidenced by a perfect no-finding audit this past year that was determined by the Washington State Auditor's Office. As your superintendent, I have the responsibility to make difficult recommendations and decisions, not only in terms of the budget, but in respect to all facets of our school program. I truly believe that together we can continue to make a positive difference for our students, families, staff, and community. Please join us in our efforts to continue moving our school district to even greater heights and achievements. I will tell you that this evening was one of the most difficult board meetings in my career. And I can tell you this, that the last paragraph of the resolution is extremely important to the board and to myself. Our hope is that with new information that I believe we'll receive possibly from the governor tomorrow or sometime very soon, that will impact the transportation, the use of the transportation money, and some direction on job sharing, will give the board and I the ability to be as creative and innovative as possible to bring back as many people as possible. This is a very, very difficult time for the board and myself, and for you. And my heart is in this work. And I want to be able to come back to you soon with some different ideas to bring people back to work within reason and within legal parameters. That's very important. You know, we get direction, and I'm telling you that the directions change almost weekly, if not daily in some cases. And that's really prohibited us from making some of these decisions or this decision earlier because things were in constant change. There's no question that we would have loved to be able to tell you exactly what was going to happen, but we just didn't have all the information. And quite frankly, we don't have all the information as we speak today, as we speak tonight. So I want everyone to understand that if we get new information from the governor, from the legislature, that last paragraph in the resolution gives us the opportunity to think differently in terms of the direction that we've taken tonight. And I can assure you that I will work closely with the school board and our budget department, Brenda, to see what we can do to bring people back to work. We need you. The school district will not be the same without you. And so I want you to try to understand the situation and the predicament the board and I are in. So I give you my word that we will do everything possible to bring people back to work as much as we can. Keeping in mind, though, that we don't know what's coming down the road beyond 20 and 21. When the state tells us that there are anywhere between 10 and $12 billion in lost revenue, that's very significant. And who knows what that means for public education in the long run. So all of those factors need to be considered, but there's one factor that's front and center with, I know, the board and myself, and that's you. And we didn't want to do what we talked about tonight. So we're going to be looking for ways, creative ways, honest ways to bring people back to work. I heard about one district that, you know, they're going to do job sharing. But in this particular district, there's one union. There's one union. And job share, you know, people can flow from one job to another. We don't have that luxury. So in fact, if the governor or somebody tells us that, hey, we want you to move towards job sharing, which has its merits, we all, like I think Sandy mentioned, we all need to come to the table and figure out how we're going to expedite that to happen. And I know we can make it happen. But let's wait and see what happens tomorrow, because I've been told that we could get some information tomorrow on the transportation issue and on job sharing. And I will tell you that we will go right to work and try to make it happen and bring people back to work accordingly. So again, this was a very difficult night for your superintendent. I heard you. And some of it, I will tell you the truth, was a little disheartening, because I've given my heart to this district for going on 6 years now. So I believe in you, and I'm going to do everything I can, like I just said, to bring as many people back to work as possible. If we're given that opportunity, we're going to go to work and we're going to try very hard. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, we come to the second part of the agenda for community comments. Host, do we have community comments that you can see?
We have several messages in the mailbox. First one is from Kim Goldsby. My sister is Karen DeWitt, the soon-to-be former Director of Safety and Security. I have never known anyone with more integrity in my life. When she made her statement earlier tonight, you can believe every word that came out of her mouth. I have watched her agonize over the last 4 years. She left the Washington State Patrol as the highest ranking female, voted the highest in leadership of all the command staff by the troopers in the State Patrol. She then went to work for a high-end law firm in Washington, D.C. They still send her communications asking her to come back. A nationally recognized law firm. You think her integrity is not at the top of the scale? She has experienced witnessing a hostile work environment at the district office coming from the highest administrator. She has kept her nose to the grindstone, but struggled knowing that she would never leave her employees hanging out to dry or support her subordinates in helping them succeed. Her experiences were a template for a hostile working environment. Surprisingly, there's not a whistleblowing policy at the Shelton School District. Why not? There's a lot of shady business going on. Integrity matters. The truth matters. Next one, Jamie Ellertson. My name is Jamie Ellertson. I live in the Shelton area. I am resending my email, but it was skipped over. I am writing my concerns on behalf of the Early Learning Center. My two children, both 4 years old, are enrolled in an early learning program. One of my children has an IEP and the other is a peer remodel. I was informed my peer remodel would be denied services this year due to the funding and the layoffs of teachers. I was informed 1 week ago. This has allowed for no time for me to enroll my other child in school due to wait list now, and my family do not qualify for subsidized schooling. I was told I would receive a follow-up call to address getting my child into the preschool program, and no one is returning my calls. Both of my children were actively enrolled in the school last year. For scientific evidence, it is not conducive to have only children with IEPs in a class without having peer remodels. It is disheartening that budget cuts and layoffs are being done to the preschool department because all children's educations matter. Our family jumped through every hoop, every loophole and ropes to get both our children enrolled in preschool months and months ago, and to find out 2 weeks before school that the only one of your children's education is important is sad. Conversely, there is flyers posted that they are now enrolling children into the preschool program. How can an excited child that is already actively enrolled and was engaged last year be removed from the program and a different student replace them? A part of 1 year of my child's IEP is social emotional issues, and her sister is a strong support for her at school. Do children with IEPs bring more funding to the preschool? Is that why my child will not be able to attend? There are many parents, not just myself, that would like answers to these questions. Why am I being promised a return phone call and nothing happening? Why there's no discussion on cuts to the early learning program? Also, many families do not qualify for the meal program starting on the first day of school. Why can't this be extended? Michael Budd. Since the comments are disabled for this meeting, I make a motion to see who is in favor of this proposal via the like or dislike buttons at the bottom of the YouTube video. Jennifer Eisenberg Plute. While it's true that there are books in Spanish, they don't pertain to content, and they are like silicon. So they're reading, but some of them aren't really appropriate, and the other people can speak more towards the fact that our parents will not be able to help their kids. Please, please listen to the voices in the trenches and work directly with the families daily, please. Another one from Kim Goldsby. Why are you acting like 2 hours of K-12 platform training for our teacher before school starts, something to be proud of? How ridiculous. You have no idea how many of them I have talked to who are extremely frustrated. You are letting them down. There is no excuse for this negligent foundational failure. Another one, Jennifer Eisenberg Plute. Dear school board members, please, please, please listen to those of us that have had the initial quote training, end quote, which was only exposure to how it works. Since central office is telling you half truths, please take the time to ask teachers who work with the DL populations. The trainer said you can translate some of the instructions, but there is not curricula in Spanish, and there is not the knowledge for the parents to support the students if they can't access things. We are not doing well with our EL populations growth, and it's easy to say that they will do whatever to help us, but when the rubber meets the road, it's just not true. Why was not the newcomer curricula purchased? Please, board, listen to the teachers and community members. Jennifer Eisenberg. The last one from Jennifer Eisenberg. Board members, I beseech you to wait on the K-12 platform. Minimally, please require that something more appropriate for the 282 plus families at Evergreen in DL, and allowing the teacher who knows how this works. Have learned a second language and love the kids, make the decision and have input. Jennifer Eisenberg. Then we have one from a phone number. Some of you should look into what Winlock is doing. They are having small groups, socially distanced, no more than 10 students. All teachers must go to school building and be available to students and families. The email was sent from a telephone number at T-Mobile. Those are the only comments that are in the mailbox.
Thank you very much. We appreciate hearing that. At this time, we can move on to board member comments. And start with Sally Carr.
I have no further comments this evening.
All righty. Sally B.
I don't have any further comments. other than most of your school board has grown up right here in Shelton. We've been here for, some of us have been here for generations, and we want the very best for our community. And it's a very difficult time, and we're only going to get through it together. So I'm hoping that we can do that and weather this storm together.
Maybe she can't hear me. Can we go to Lynn?
Sorry, no further comments.
Okay. I would make the comment that, you know, even though the budget is passed, we'll still be meeting frequently for updates. This is an ongoing situation. It's not something we're going to forget about. It's ongoing because our students are important to us, and the staff that serves our students is important to us. So that concludes my comments.
Sandy, I don't know if you, I couldn't hear you if you were asking me.
I was.
Yeah, I didn't hear you. I was wondering that if you were going through. I know you usually speak last. I just want to make brief comments, but I do want to say thank you to everyone who is working so hard right now. Many of you round the clock, evenings and weekends, just to get ready for the first day of school next Wednesday. I am excited for that too, for my two daughters who will be starting in this online environment. And I'm very hopeful with some of the comments that I have heard that have been supportive about that. But I do know that this has been a lot of work for many of you, and it's been a sacrifice of your time, and it's come with a lot of stress. So thank you very much. And I do hope that things can start to even out here soon once the school year starts. I also just want to say thank you to all of the community members who have taken the time to write in the messages of support, the questions, and the concerns that we all received. We will continue to work very hard to answer those questions and get back to the individuals whenever that's the most appropriate thing to do. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Carrie. At this time, we have no need of an executive session this evening. Thank you all for being with us. This is has been a long meeting, even by long standards. I'm not sure we've had a 4-hour meeting before. So at this time, is there a motion to move for adjournment?
So moved.
All righty.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. We are adjourned.